Yo, what's going on, everybody? Your boy Trigger Mike here with another show for you. Shout out to everybody. Salute to our viewers nationwide and international. Everybody over in Portugal, everybody over in Europe, Eastern Europe, UK, Denmark. We even got somebody from Denmark watching. They hitting me up on IG. But welcome. We are here. Let me turn my mic up because I know I had to turn it down yesterday. I thought I was the one with mic issues. We should be good now, but let me know if you can hear me, if I'm coming through clear. Once again, welcome to the Trigger Mike Show on the greatest network on YouTube, which is the Lapeef Network. Thank y'all for coming through. I know you could be anywhere in the YouTube verse, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Hopefully, you think that we have good, substantive conversation for you to partake in here today. All right, so we do got an excellent topic today. This is a hot topic in these streets. I was actually on Daily Wrap Up Crew last night. I was working, developing a presentation I'm giving tomorrow for work, but I was listening and I had to jump on, boy. They did an excellent interview with Dr. Umar Johnson, which we will get into in a second. I appreciate y'all for letting me know I'm coming through clear. All right. Shout out to the sponsor, Tej Hanley. 30% off along with a free gift. Make sure that if you didn't get it for Father's Day like I advised you to do, you can still go ahead and get that Tej pack. My wife got me a facial for Father's Day, so now once I run out of this face wash, I did get it in like a bulk super size, so I don't waste. But once I'm done with that, I'm gonna get me a nice Tej pack. I've read the ingredients, I've read the reviews. I need me some good skin hydration, so 30% off along with a free gift. The link is at the bottom of the description. If you have not grabbed one, please do so already. Shout out to the sponsor once again. All right. If you would like to support the show, I see this is a hot topic and people are going to have something to say about this. So if you want to join and support the show for the good stuff that you're going to hear, please do so by form of super chat. That always helps. This equipment, these productions and behind the scenes things that we do cost money. And I know everybody can appreciate an honest day's labor. So the work that JR does behind the scenes with setting up the show, putting together the thumbnails and the clips, to the work that I do here as a host for you. All right. If you want to show your support to people that are working, if you get inspiration from our grind, please throw us a few dollars every now and again to show your support. We really appreciate that and always appreciate any support you can give. Your patronage is what keeps us going. Thank you so much for your support in that regard as well. Who do we got in the chat today? My man Gregory Scotland early with the 10 ball says, "Hey, Mike, may be late today, but I'm getting very irritated with productive black men being asked to save the damn community, to save irresponsible baby mamas and loser dudes. Tired of Umar's and Courtney's." You know what? I don't know if you're talking about Courtney Michelle. She did come up last night while I was sitting and waiting on Daily Wrap Up Crew. I was so about her take. The women do this weird thing, man. They do this weird thing where we understand the justification. She said we have to understand the why. Never have I heard a woman explain the why, other than maybe, some of the ladies that advocate for men and try to assist women in opening their eyes to what actually happened and don't give them an excuse to not be of service to the black community. That's kind of what was going on last night with Courtney's answer. I wasn't really feeling it. She was on the right track, then I think she derailed herself, because the issue we have now is that this is an issue that's really going on. People that didn't even go through some of this stuff are acting like they went through slavery or Jim Crow or the Civil War. People that didn't even go through it are acting crazy. So you can't get an excuse for adopting an ideology that you had no incentive to be a part of. You chose to be a part of that group. If you don't want to call yourself a feminist, because remember, when surveyed now, nobody identifies as a feminist. How is that? We on these YouTube streets every single day, but none of y'all are feminists anymore. So they know that word is going to get obliterated by red pill dudes, by dudes with actual sense. We can give me 5 minutes. I can make you an argument as to why feminism was the stupidest thing for you to join. So they know that we can intelligently combat that narrative. So they no longer want to identify as feminists. But we do know they cannot take back the fact that they identify as independent women. So what they always try to do is make an excuse for joining that clan of independent women. Well, we had to do every unilateral decision they made by themselves is what led to their eventual downfall. It's not always about the men. Men have ultimate accountability, okay? But we'll get into it, man. This is going to be a great episode. I could not find the video they were using last night on King Talk, so I'm just going to play the actual King Talk clip. I don't know where it came from. I thought it was Shade Room, Spiritual Word, or whatever, but I didn't find it. So I'm actually just going to play it from King Talk, and then we're going to get into it that way. This is going to be a great conversation. For those of y'all that want to come up, I'm going to really break this video like all the way down. So I'm going to drop the link in the middle. Y'all come up and talk to me. I do got some questions for y'all. Put a one in the chat if you saw that Dr. Umar interview with Daily Wrap-Up crew. All right, they made some good points. Dr. Umar made a lot of cutoffs. He was cutting them off. But we're going to go through it bit by bit. Let me know if y'all hear the video on y'all side, and we're going to chop it up like that, man. We're going to get to it. This Umar video did give me a lot of thoughts. So we're going to break it down as we watch together, all right? Bet. All right.
If we giving them grace for them having to do it without us, but it wasn't our fault, how are we not getting that same grace and that same respect?
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because black men, as the leaders of the community, now
we can't be leaders.
Here's the question we gotta make.
That.
Here's the question. Because the argument y'all make, feeds into the feminist agenda.
Okay,
it's an argument that says I don't want the responsibility.
I'm a leader.
I don't want to fix shit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna pause right there. Let me make myself a little bigger, okay? Let me pause right there, man. I'm doing this straight off the top. I don't have any script or nothing because these particular type of interviews always provoke thought for many of us. And the same thing I said on Dr. Umar's with the Daily Wrap-Up crew last night when I jumped on their live late last night. You can tell what he's doing. This man has a timeline that I don't think y'all are hip to it yet. This dude has a timeline in which he does this stuff. Every summer, he goes on the Breakfast Club to promote and get donation for his school that will never open. The never-ending opening. I'm sorry, not the never-ending, the never-opening school. That's what I'm calling it now. Until the doors of the FDMG Academy open, we're calling it the never-opening school. Man, you could get school started online and wait for the building. First off, you could get school started online if you really cared about the knowledge going in people's head. You've wasted years. But this is very disingenuous what he's doing because he flip-flops. When it's off season and he's not really collecting many donations, he flip-flops to start advocating against women and letting women know what's on his mind as a man and letting them know where their failures are. But since his largest base is women, he flip-flops. And all of a sudden, we're the leaders of the community who have to take responsibility for kids we did not birth. Children we're not responsible for raising. But so I'm a director at an online school. That's why I'm like, well, we have multiple campuses, but you know what I mean? That's why I'm like, you can get school started online. I can help you with that. Regulatory issues, I do that. I can get a curriculum. I can do that. I've written curriculum before. So I don't know. Let's chop it up.
I'm going to fall back and let her run everything. That's what the feminists tell. They say, look at them, making excuses for why they can't be better men, making excuses for why they can't make better men. You understand? Your argument feeds the feminist narrative.
That's not what we're making excuses for.
I'm saying I am the better man, but I shouldn't be held responsible because you wanted to choose a Pookie and a Ray Ray. That's not me. I worked too hard in my life.
Back to what I said. Pookie and Ray Ray shouldn't exist. And the only reason
boom. Number one. All right. This is the first fail. This is the first fail. Hold on real quick. Sorry about that. That was JR. He tried to figure out. Oh, damn. He's not by his computer, so he thought I didn't upload the video. But let's continue. This is the narrative that this is what he does. This is what he pushes. All right. So let me go back just a little bit. This guy is saying that, naturally what he says about the feminist movement, it's not really what's going on. It's not our fault. Now, this dude is saying Pookie and Ray Ray shouldn't exist. He is absolutely 100% wrong. He's absolutely 100% wrong. Pookie and Ray Ray represent the low-hanging fruit in any community, not the black community. It represents a man who, not even just by his own trials and tribulations, but by his effort in general, does not reach high enough. That is, every single ethnic group deals with that. Every single one deals with that. Every single ethnic group has a degenerate class. So when he says Pookie and Ray Ray shouldn't exist, he's doing the same thing most black women do, is try to put every single man through a moral litmus test. Every single man through a moral litmus test, saying we should all be millionaires. We should all be high-ranking dudes. No, that never happens. There shouldn't be any Pookie and Ray Rays. What are you talking about? Crazy. Let's continue, though.
About Pookie and Ray Ray exist because we're not in the community making those boys the men they need to be. Do you see that? And she don't get a Pookie if you didn't allow a Pookie.
But she got an Eli. She ain't come to Eli. She went to Pookie. And that's what we're trying to say.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
Hard in my life.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
Wrong. All right, fellas, I need y'all to help me out on this. I cannot even think about the live stream that I was on, because I love breaking down. This type of rhetoric. I love it because Pookie and Ray Ray exist in every single group. But when you explain to a black woman, especially, the type of man that's available to her, that's willing to be monogamous, that has a stable job and can keep it, when you break down everything a woman needs to maintain a stable relationship with the man, that is not the dude she wants. They choose them. This dude literally does what the women do. Whenever it comes to women and their choices, they behave like they're lifeless robots. They are not lifeless robots. They advocated for the ability to make their own choices, and they do. They are just the worst decision makers in regards to romantic relationships. The worst decision makers ever. When you allow them to choose for themselves, that is what they do. They do not want stability. They want chaos. It is exciting to them. Do not put that on black men. There are literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of black men sitting there waiting for their black queen. They get their hair cut every 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. They go to work every day. They don't give their employers problems. They're in the middle class technically. They work overtime, so whatever they make on paper isn't even correct because all they have is time on their hands. They go to the club, have a drink, and they're just looked over. Again, men that are ready to be monogamous, ready to give these women what they want, ready for a stable relationship, want kids, non-abusive, has a stable job, can keep a stable job. In fact, most black men are working in hierarchical pay structures that have their raises set in already. have their raises already set in. Military, police, public administration, public city job, public works. Some of the best 401k plans you will ever find because they're state and city run jobs. But then the women don't want these men. What the hell is he talking about? He's playing to his base. Let's continue.
Dr. Umar,
Men supposed to make the raise the boys.
Right. We as men is holding other men accountable for the same thing that you talking about right now.
What are we doing for the young brothers in the street? So
what you mean, mentoring them? Now I mean he's a great father.
Mm-hmm. I ain't talking about that's individual. That's good, but that's individualism.
Yeah.
What are we doing collectively as men to change the trajectory for black boys in the streets right now?
I
Nothing.
We're being a voice.
All right, y'all. If you are a person that thinks that you have personal accountability to street boys in whatever hood is closest to you, put a 1 in the chat. I'm not even going to speculate. If you are somebody that loves your community so much that you think you have to go out there and risk your life to talk to boys on the street, put a 1 in the chat. If you're just one of those people. If you are somebody who believes it is not your damn job, and that is a micro Band-Aid solution to what is actually happening, put a 2 in the chat. I don't even have enough 2s. It is not my job. I take care of my own family. Again, watch what Dr. Umar is doing. Watch very closely to what this man is doing. At every single turn, he advocates for single mothers to absolve them of all of their mistakes and let the men take over. I said this on the show last night. Dr. Umar also advocates that men need not buy homes in suburbs around other groups of people, but stay in the hood to build with their people and build that area up. I can move my children to the suburbs and buy land and buy multi-level units in the hood to be a part of that gentrification process so I can make sure that wealth is being created for the black community. I can do that. But let me tell you the reality of the situation. All it takes is one time for my son to get beat up, or one time for me to feel like something happening to my daughter. I'm going to shoot everybody out there, and I'm still going to move to the suburbs. Men, husbands, and fathers do not play about their children. I am not putting my children at risk for the betterment of the community, because what actually helps the community is the fact that I take care of my own kids. I keep telling y'all the same shit and nobody's listening. A community is not a group of individuals. It is a group of families. Family. That is the macro solution. Mentorship is the micro. You can only help. Who here has taught before? Who here is a teacher? Who knows the statistics about how little a lecture gets through into a person's head, especially if they got to sit for longer than 30 minutes? If they got to sit for 30 minutes, you lost them. Mentorship works the same way. You are going to waste time, resources, energy, grant money. You're going to put yourself in danger for a group of kids that won't even listen. How about you spend time teaching math to the kids that show up wherever they're at? That's what I'm about. If the Nation of Islam, with its millions of dollars, cannot help the black community after 70 years of trying, what the hell makes you think you can? Whole factions, whole groups of men, dutiful men, their entire purpose is the betterment of the community. And you think you are more impactful than them? I'm not arrogant enough to think that. I'm going to reserve my time where it matters. I'm going to make gold star children. With other fathers in this area, we create a community, a shelter, a barrier around our children so we can raise functional, productive, and exemplary black children for them to look up to. Anyway, let's continue.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, you could take
It's
it as
not
that.
going to get better unless we put hands on deck. The reason the athletes and the rappers are the role models is the professional black man moved out the hood. Where the dentist at? He ain't in the black community no more. Where the lawyer at? Where the business owner at? Where your city council person at? We abandon black boys, and then we blame black men for poor choices in mates that they should not even have to make if we did a better job raising our boys the right way. At the end of the day, if I'm gonna call myself a man, the ultimate responsibility for reconstruction of the black community rests with me. Yes, they have a role. Yes, they have responsibility. But as a man, as a leader, to say I can't fix this shit unless she changes, that's not the definition of a man.
I don't.
All right. I think he thought he was making a good point. But good job, Dr. Umar. You're saying the stuff you always say. We all know as men, every dude in this chat understands men have the ultimate liability and accountability for everything. That does not need, that's a recycled thought. That is a recycled thought. But what he's not noticing, and what he keeps saying is that we need hands on ground, boots on deck. They've done that for decades. They're not listening. Stop wasting more resources. As I've told y'all in the past, black people are the only people on earth that will not disassociate themselves from their degenerate class. You're talking about unity. You're talking about taking the best of you to go do something and waste resources on people who don't want to listen and are only focused on entitlement. All those dudes, those doctors, those dentists, and he talked about, all they owe the hood is a good example. Because he's not even looking at it the right way. Because this is the way I've seen people do it. This is the way I've seen my frat brothers do it. Other frat dudes do it. When you have a child or a kid that's from there and they come to you in earnest, sincerely, asking for an opportunity, and you can tell they mean it, you give them one. That's how you help your community. Let them find their way to you. If you attend one of those programs, look at what that kid is doing in school. Let them show you the work that they're doing. Let them verbalize out their own mouth that they don't want to be in the streets no more. Somebody got to do the work. They got to show up too. How the hell are we still listening to this rhetoric when 6 decades of intensive grassroots street work has not worked? How? Maybe they're not right. Maybe he's not right. He don't even understand it.
See, I think we're on two different chords. Like, I don't think we're saying that. What I'm saying is I'm capable of being that leader, that provider. I've worked hard in my life. You get what I'm saying? I should not have to. You still go back to individualism. But I only feel like we tell black men that we have to now deal with masculine women, women with children.
Why is she masculine? Because she's had to raise the kids alone. Not one woman, so brother, a whole community.
So you mean to tell me the only woman I could look forward in my life is a masculine woman that has kids by other men?
No.
That's what I have to look forward to?
But I'm telling you, mistakes made by black men systemically.
What do y'all think, yo? What do y'all think? Is this the black man's fault? What do y'all think? That argument has been beaten, has been used so much. Let me explain this. I want to remove, because I just told y'all that black men have the ultimate accountability in everything. I'm sorry, men in general have the ultimate accountability. But here's the issue. There was a time where black men had the ultimate accountability in this situation, or the blame, let's say. But take out the word black. What y'all keep forgetting is that man has the ultimate accountability. Who allowed women to have unilateral control over what happens with the children? Who allowed that? Was it black men? I'm asking. Who allowed that? You can say man, but don't say black men. You can say the man, but don't say black men. These women, remember, I advocate for full accountability of fathers. There is no difference. They cannot find a difference between a child being raised by its father versus a child being raised in a two-parent household. So if these women are so worried about creating degenerates and their children becoming bad and losing out in life and becoming criminals, how about we give them to their fathers? What do y'all think? Is that a good idea to save the community? Instead of women being incentivized to keep men out of the home, creating a culture where women can keep men out and just have babies by them so they can get checks. If you really want the drama to stop, if you really want to stop saying, let me tell you something, because he said, or somebody in the chat said that black men created these degenerates. How? How do people with no custody create degenerates? How did they create them? Their mothers created them. The mothers created these degenerates. And if you don't believe me, if you don't want to be blamed, go give that child to his father and let him raise them. Y'all know how I feel about this already. The mothers created these degenerates. Telling a man that all he has to look forward to is a masculine woman, these women adopt that behavior because they think it's cool. There are women that don't even have the circumstances that adopt this behavior. They don't like calling themselves feminists. They call themselves independent women. They call themselves educated. I'm a PhD. They adopted this behavior.
Gave rise to the conditions that allowed her to be masculine and made her end up with a man that you consider to be less than what he should be. And I'm telling you, black men are responsible for her being masculine because we have not helped her raise them children.
I am not.
Oh, boy. There he goes. We have not helped them raise them children. To the men in the chat, in fact, the women too. This is a question for the whole chat. The men in the chat and the women too. If you believe that it is black men's responsibility to take care of children that are not theirs, put a 1 in the chat right now. Let's have a real discussion about it. If it is any black man's responsibility to take care of black children that do not share his DNA, put a 1 in the chat. Let me go out to, I ain't going to Bissonnette. Let me go out to 3rd Ward right now and hold a sign up that says, I'm willing to put 5 kids that aren't mine on my health insurance. Don't know how that's going to work out. I'm willing to adopt 5 kids. Okay, we got some ladies here that says it's our job. If you feel like it's not your damn job, let me know. Let me know.
I say help them raise them children, I don't mean you as the stepdad.
No,
I mean you as an active member in the community where we go to every single parent black mother and say, how many sons you got? 2? How many sons you got? 2? Well, guess what? That's your son's big brother. That's your son's big brother. He taking them to school. He doing the homework. He gonna spend a couple hours with him every Saturday. He got his own kids too, but he gonna make time for you. She got masculine because she had to become masculine in order to deal with the rape, the abuse, the domestic violence, the disappointments that men had in her life, and also raising those kids and have to take care of herself all at the same time.
That's such bullshit, man. That's such bullshit. I think this is very disingenuous and this is very hurtful to a lot of men. Because tomorrow's episode, thank you for homie that came in my Instagram chat. Tomorrow's episode is going to be about the other side of the story, about why fathers weren't in the house, why fathers were not in the house. If you are somebody who found out that your mother lied about why your father wasn't present when you became old enough to understand what really happened, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the chat. He is only telling one side of the story. He's only telling one side of the story here. The part that he just fouled up on And y'all can let me know. Remember, we can dialogue about this. Let me know if you think a modern black woman is going to let you come in her house and tell her how her children should be raised. Let me know how that's worked out for you. I will gladly, if a woman came to me as a person, or let's say like, a friend, a coworker, listen, you're a great father, you're a great husband. I cannot control my son. He's not really bad yet, but he has those behaviors, and I can see myself losing control. Please talk to him. Mentor him and just let him be around you. I will pay. I will pay for, if y'all go to a game, I will pay for him, his lunch or whatever. I just need him to be around you. If you're a man who would actually help that kid out, if their mother came to you like that and expressed that she was concerned, put a 1 in the chat, because I would do it. If they sought me out and were basically submitting to say they couldn't do it, and now I have total control to help their son out without interference from them, would you do it? Black men, would you do it? I would do it. But is that what we're dealing with? Is that what women do in our community? You are more likely to get the cops called on you for trying to help a black woman and her children. I'm not being dramatic. I'm telling you. In order for them to receive help, internally, they got to admit they did something wrong. Accountability for women is a bitter pill they never want to swallow. She has to admit she did something wrong in order to help you, or in order to let you help her kid. They will never admit it. But we know. Let's continue.
The black woman has been the be all in all in our community for half of a century. And now we want to turn around and say because she didn't do it perfectly enough or remain feminine enough where she had to absorb our responsibilities plus her own. That's insensitive and disingenuous.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Woo. Y'all, that was a lot, man. Let me bring the people up. Hold on, y'all. What's going on? Let me get these super chats read, man, and then we're going to chop it up. We're going to get into it. All right. Gregory Scotland, I read that one already. Appreciate that. Dog Eat Dog with the 5 ball. They want decent men to pay for their actions of low quality men and women. Literally, the ant and the grasshopper fable. No sane man will agree to this. I agree. Enter Black Dragon, my man. Pookie, Ray Ray, and the women need to do better. Marriage, politics, and sports. Mr. Rich, $5. Dr. Umar is so disingenuous, and the young brothers were not prepared for his level of horse shit. I know because I was there. Prophecy to Savior, $20. Appreciate that. So we're going to act like free will doesn't exist. Why in the hell am I responsible for you making a choice for yourself? So it's my fault you chose wrong. And if not, then it's my responsibility to fix your mistakes. Hey, prophecy to Savior, that's exactly what the women want you to believe. It's your job to fix their mistakes. And when Dr. Umar talks, he's giving them the freedom to think that way. Every time a prominent male simps that hard, when he does that for women, he literally bolsters them and emboldens them to do the same shit they've always done. Can't stand that dude for this damn interview. All right, prophecy to Savior, $10. Damn, I didn't know not having kids out of wedlock, not selling drugs in my community, not killing other black women was my fault for how the community turned out. Hashtag it's my fault. Mr. Rich again, Mike, please make him stop. I couldn't, man. I couldn't. Advanced perception, $5. No, ain't ish niggas turned her masculine. Then they take all the drama out on the good man as if it's his fault for her circumstances. Man, y'all were dropping bombs today, man. Oh, we got dudes here to talk about this today. Let's get into it. All right, Scam, what you got? Opening thoughts.
Sounds like dust to me. Actually, I was referring to you, not Umar, because I don't listen when he's talking anyway.
Yeah, I know.
It's either you, the leader, and leaders assume responsibility. Fault
Hmm.
goes on both sides. But if you assume responsibility, you assume the responsibility. Not it's the women's fault. All the women's, all these women's. If you're a leader, you pick the woman, you guide that woman, making better decisions.
Understood.
Not grab one from the nation of Wigwam, put her in a position, have all the power, you get ragged off, and you blame the woman who ain't even there. No, either leader or you ain't. So I'm almost confused what the difference is in a modern woman and a modern man. They both crying the same complaint. Just being honest.
All right. So let me ask you this. Everything you said, I believe, applies to every man in his own individual home and the circumstances he created.
Right.
So I would never disagree with you to say if my daughter did something or my son did something that negatively impacted the community outwardly, it's absolutely my fault. They came from my home. If my
Well,
wife did something and
hell with the
that
community. Well, hell with the community because the
but you
community.
know what I'm saying. So are you saying that I am in charge of what happens in Third Ward, even though I live in West suburb of Houston? That's what you're saying?
No, that's not what I said. I never said anything about this fake ass community. The community doesn't exist anywhere. I'm talking about in general. But within the population, if you go back to what y'all love to do, we got to go back to 1942 when women's was women's and men. Like, if you really want to know what was the story is, in 1950 something, whatever, people were in survival mode. There was no communication. There was no critical thinking. You look forward or you get beat. That's how it was. That's how they taught the kids. That's how people used to start in the 70s, 80s. Don't ask why, just do stuff or we're gonna beat the shit out of you. The community gonna beat the shit out of you. The white man and whoever beat the shit out of you. So let us know, why do we do this? How do we do this? No, well, none of that. And once people got the option, if the marriage rate was 80, 90% back then, and they all of a sudden went to the 20s, don't you want to ask why? Like, if everything was so great, why did people leave and never come back? I'm just saying.
All right. We'll get into it. All right, Payne.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of studies on why the community broke apart, but that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. I was born in 1958. There were
And
women.
Lord.
There were women picking no shit guys back then, just like they're doing now.
Probably true.
And then what Dr. Umar said, which is really disingenuous, is that in the neighborhood there were doctors, there were brothers who were lawyers, there were guys like me. I became an engineer. I was a young teenager when the Black Spades, the Savage Nomads, and the Seven Immortals, and all the gangs, and all the people doing graffiti, and all the women went for all those gang leaders. A lot of the most prettiest women went for all those gang leaders and everything, right? I wasn't no tough guy, but my friends were. I played basketball. I stayed out of the fray. So it's so freaking disingenuous for him to say, why the doctors are not in the neighborhood. We were there. We were there. I remember the drug war. I remember the crack coming in the neighborhoods. And those who wanted to do it did it. And those women were still picking the worst of us over the best of us. And it's no different now. It's just accelerated. So he was so freaking disingenuous on that line because he was talking to a bunch of young boys. And if I was not young boys, they're young men, I wish I was on there with them because I would have told him to his face that he's so full of shit, and I would have told him why he was full of shit. He made me so mad when I heard him say that. Listen, we have culpability for what happened to us back in the 70s and 80s because too many black men succumbed to the drug war, to the drug, to being weak. Yeah, I grant you that. But that doesn't absolve the women for accepting welfare checks and all the government handouts that were given to them if they didn't have a man around. So both of those things, both of those dynamics were true at the same time.
That's dust, my friend.
So he was just This shit's we're gonna be talking about this shit for a couple of weeks now. I'm telling you, because Anton Daniels is doing shit on it, everybody's doing shit on it. Anyway, I'm not gonna, this is opening thoughts, but I was there, right? And I'm here now. And the only thing I thought about when my family got us out of the bullshit is that my kids would never see the kind of shit that I seen when I lived in Harlem and when I lived in the Bronx, the South Bronx. That was my goal. And for him to, and I would never move my family back into the goddamn hood. Never. I'm not putting my kids at risk with a whole bunch of people with nothing to lose. What the freak is he talking about?
Hey,
anyway,
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just being as disingenuous as I possibly can.
Okay. How can I guess? Go ahead, man.
If one by one, all the way to the thousands of women, because all the men make these paychecks and they're protectors and providers and all this other stuff. All the men are the average man y'all glorify, and all the women
we ain't
are.
Saying all the men. Go ahead, but go ahead. Give me a question, please.
How is it incentivized to take a welfare check and live in the hood, crackling windows and roaches?
Can I answer that?
With a man somewhere
let me answer that. You don't have to go on.
I know where you're going.
I know where you're going. Because wait a minute now. You don't have to keep going. I know where you're going.
I gotta keep going.
How much more you gonna tell me?
I gotta keep going. You're telling me because I'm even ugly. I mean, I'm ugly. I only look good on the weekends. So you're telling me with a whole job and other stuff. Are women looking at me and saying I'd rather go live over there in the projects by myself than be with you? Don't you think it might be a problem with some of the men when they would make that type of decision to get away?
You got to land the plane because I know where you're going. First of all, men nowadays are being vilified for having average incomes. Think about what kind of money they were making. Wait a minute, you said your thing. Wait a minute now. You think about the kind of money they were making back in the 1960s and 70s. And women said, if I can get anywhere close to the money this guy is making, some of them made those choices. Some of them I didn't come out with the movie with Carol, whatchamacallit, where she had to hide the guy behind the goddamn thing when the welfare man came around. I didn't make that movie. That shit was real. Get out of my house so I could get my check. She had a whole man there, and she chose to kick him out of the house when the welfare man came around. What was the name of that show? That was a popular show. So I didn't make all that shit. This was happening. Say what?
That doesn't make any sense.
No. Yeah, because you wasn't there. Women were making choices.
The math doesn't
Hold on. We're gonna go around. We're gonna go around.
I'm gonna leave you. So it might not make sense to you because you wasn't there.
Because I know math.
Let me just say this to Dusto. You have to understand that it's easy. I wasn't even alive during that time, and it's very easy for me to see why women chose that. You are, yes, women who are smart and more religious and understand the value of a man will choose a man over a check. But the same way the modern woman today is obsessed with power, let you know that was their original thought. If he's not here, I get to call the shots. If he's not here, I get to make the decisions. That is exactly what women are doing today, times the 10th power. So I can understand if somebody said it started from then. Remember,
Mike,
this is exactly what women are doing now.
Let me say this, Mike, before you go on. Anyway, because I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got to understand that we're not talking majority or not. All you need is a critical mass of people doing that.
Yep.
You don't need everybody. You just need enough people to do it to get that snowball rolling down the hill. And that's what happened back in the 60s and 70s. So I'm not indicting all the women because there were good women back then. And just like I believe there's still good women now. But and there were good men back then. Umar gave you the impression that there was no good men back there. So the point is that, so there was enough women to get that snowball rolling down the hill and enough men who succumbed to the drug war. And that shit started that shit in the cascade, right? But he was just putting it on one side and he's wrong. And men should never be faulted or shamed to come back after they did all the hard work to go take care of somebody's bastard children. That's bullshit.
Woo. All right. One Curtis. Let's go around. I'm gonna bring up JT. Y'all keep going around. Go ahead, Curtis. Then King
All right,
Sparkman.
just opening thoughts. Yeah, women they have the role of men being a leader and women being a follower. The following is being downplayed as if it's incompetent or stupid. To be a follower, it takes a lot to be a follower, and women are choosing to do what they want to do over following. They following sounds beneath doing what they want to do. They would rather do what they want to do. And us as leaders, as the men, whether it's of the black community or in general, what can you do if the followers don't want to follow? If they're being incentivized to do what they want to do versus following. That's just open thoughts.
Yo, y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, man, it's not nobody's fault. It's like it's not our fault per se. But I will say that y'all, most of the men is talking like that's kind of trash, man. To figure that you don't have an hour a week to give back to your community. You don't have an hour a week to slide in and out. I'm just saying, in a perfect world, and the programs actually existed, right? If we spread the little workload around, it wouldn't even be that much. It'd be like an hour a week. You would have to show up at the little youth whatever, rap with the little boys or whatever, show how to shoot a jump shot, make sure they doing good in school, and keep it moving. I don't see nothing wrong with that. I mean, y'all playing 100,000 hours on the goddamn PlayStation. You watching 100,000 hours of porn. You watching. You got time. You got a goddamn hour to give back to the little shorties in the neighborhood because them the same little dudes that's gonna put a gun in your face later. And the community, you just can't leave it like that. Now, I'm not saying break your back and go above and beyond the Call of Duty. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you had the opportunity, like I said, if we split the workload up between people that are doing shit, right, and it came out to you 1 hour a week, on 1 hour on one day, in the afternoon between 6 and 7 or 7 and 8, you had to show up to support the community center and the young youth in the community to help that shit along. You telling me you wouldn't? I'm not saying that you have to. I'm not saying it's your fault, but it's some shit that you should be willing to do just because. That's all I got.
No.
Wow. That was a mouthful. I think a lot of it has to come down. It comes down to, you know, the men that have done the work within themselves, knowing that if they happen to take on this extra burden of an extra child that's not theirs, it's a lose-lose situation. They completely understand that. They've seen it in their lives. They see it on social media, and they know for a fact that that is not going to be a good outcome for them because of the women, right? Because the women want to maintain control. I grew up in the 70s, right? In the projects in Newark, New Jersey. And as a small child in that particular environment, I remember the welfare man coming and knocking on the doors. And I remember the guys that were staying with those women coming down the steps as the welfare people were going up. And those dudes were knocking on the door, going in and inspecting, the women telling them, ain't no man here, when all the men are outside. And there will be tons of arguments happening every day as a child in those hallways, listening to the men saying, "Hey, I have a job now. I want to come back in. Why don't you get off this system?" And hearing the women say, "No, the money is too good. You're not making enough. When you make enough, then I'll get off the system." And at the same time, they still wanted them to be around and supply all the other things that masculine men do, for women. And men right now, we see that as a no-go. That's just my thought.
Is it my turn? Uh, really tired of this conversation. But I'm gonna say this. I describe it as there's a culturally contaminated culture that was created. Whether it started with y'all generation, Gen X, whatever, before that. Um, But if you think about a witch stirring a cauldron, there's many ingredients that gets put in there. And what has happened is these ingredients have given everybody a cup of Kool-Aid that they've drunken. And now you have what you have now, which is women who don't want to follow because they want to lead themselves. You have men who don't want to lead. They're not fit to lead. They don't know how to lead, right? And then you got all these people in the middle that claim they know the solution, they know the answer. All these individualist mindset people. The reality is we cannot stop women from choosing, or we can't stop women from liking what they like. Number one. It's just the reality. In high school and college, y'all see it. A lot of women, there's a certain kind of guy they like that may be rough around the edges. And in the beginning, it may just want to be a fling or a fetish for them. They may just want to be with this guy for a little minute, have some fun. But unfortunately, a lot of times, unwanted children come out of those flings. It happens a lot. I think about a lot of the girls I went to high school with in college. I'm seeing a very large trend of women who just want the child. They don't care about having a husband or a man. They just want the child. Why do they just want the child? Because that child will love them forever in their mind. I'll even use myself as an example. My mother, and I love my father. We have a pretty good relationship. But if I'm being honest, based on what I know about that situation, my mother had no business giving my father a child. My father was irresponsible. He did not have the funds. He did not have the means to have a child at that time. And it resulted in me being raised by a single mother. Now, I don't fault neither of them for that. I mean, it is what it is. You know, my dad was kind of in and out. He was there. We have a pretty good relationship. But weekend dad did not solve this problem. I hear a lot of men say, yeah, I mean, my baby mama got my son, but I still see him. I still talk to him. It means nothing if he's not there every day, waking up, watching you make the bed, watching you get up, cut the grass, watching you get up and go to work. If he's not seeing that every day, then your little weekend talks you give him mean nothing, because by the time he go back to mama house, all that stuff you try to give him is probably going in one ear out the other, because now he's back behind mama's skirt. Now mama can shield him from the world again, right? So I think more men need to just learn how to lead. You need to stop being a weekend dad, do whatever you need to do to get custody of your kids. Now, what I don't agree with Umar is I don't think men should be responsible for children they didn't create. I'm all for working in the community. I've done community service work. I do it now here in Houston. I try to get young kids in tech, but I'm young, right? I think you can do that. It's a good thing to do. It's a charitable thing to do. But at the same time, we can't blame a whole group of black men for this situation, because there's two sides to this. The black men that did what they were supposed to do, got the good grades in high school, went to college, became engineers, they shouldn't be held accountable because their counterparts of women in high school were attracted to the guy that was flinging drugs in the corner. They have nothing to do with that. They cannot control that woman's attraction, right? So they want us to come with broomsticks and come clean up this mess that is due to women being attracted and liking what they like. I just don't agree with that. Now, I think there are measures we can take to fix it, but we cannot blame the entire group of black men for this situation. What we need is both parties to accept where they made a mistake, right? If you had a baby by a man that you knew was unfit, own that. Now, take it upon yourself as a woman. Okay, what men are around me that I can bring my son to get him where he needs to be? Because I know me raising him alone, he's coming up short. I hear a lot of single women raising sons say, well, my son is fine. I I know I did right by him. I know I did his thing, even though his dad is not around. Okay, you say that, but men know when you raised by a single mother. They know when you're coming up short. And those signs usually don't show until he's about 17, 18, 19, 20. You have to move around amongst other men. And those other men can tell when you're coming up short in areas. They can tell that your father didn't teach you this. They can tell you didn't have no man around. They can tell you don't have no home training. So that's when it comes about. You're not going to see it when he's 14, 15, 16 in high school. You're going to see it when he's on his own and pressure hits him and he has to figure out how to deal with it. So what I'm saying is both parties got to take blame. Women have to be willing to follow, right? If you understand what happened, if you understand that you made a mistake with a man, okay, make up for it. Figure out how you can get your son and your daughter even around some men that can give them some real knowledge, and we can kind of go about fixing this problem incrementally. And I'm gonna land the plane there.
You know, my father wasn't in my life. I've never met my father. So I'm very grateful to my uncle who stepped in and helped raise me. I'm very grateful to the Boys and Girls Club that was down the street from where I lived at, that I could go down there and be around adult males who could help mentor me and point me in the right direction. Because growing up in D.C., in a part of D.C., Southeast D.C., where I grew up, who knows where I would be right now. Had my uncle not been in my life, had I not been able to go down to the Boys and Girls Club, to go play basketball, to learn how to lift weights, and just be around good masculine energy. If you don't want to help the community in that regard because of an individualistic ideal that it's not your responsibility and that you didn't create this problem, I can't blame you. There's no lie to that. You're not lying about that. That is the truth. It is not your responsibility. But I'm here to tell you, as a now 38-year-old male who joined the military when he was 19, who was a former police officer, I am extremely grateful to the men who did decide to step into the role of being a mentor, who did decide to help out young boys whose fathers were not in their life. Because you mean something to guys like me, it matters. And what I did was I tried to help as much as I could when I was on the street as a police officer. I'll tell you one quick story. I had a woman who, she was, for lack of a better word, she wasn't the greatest mother. She had two young boys, and they came into the district, or you guys would know it as a precinct, but in D.C. we call it districts. She came into the district, and she had these two young boys, and they looked hungry. I could just look at them and tell they're malnourished. They haven't been able to eat. I walked up to them. I asked them, "Are you guys hungry?" They of course said yes. I put them in the cruiser. I took them to McDonald's, got them something to eat real quick. I sat down. I talked to them, and this was a regular occurrence. This wasn't just a one-time thing. I did this often. Why? Because I know what this means. I've been there. About 2 weeks later, I'm standing on the corner. I'm talking to my homeboys in the neighborhood, like I always do, and I'm on duty. Those same two boys were walking down the street. They walked right up to me. They dapped me up, and the oldest one said, "Thank you for feeding us that night." You guys have no idea when you actually do take that 1 hour that King Spark was talking about. When you actually do take that 1 hour out to help, the amount of gratitude a lot of us have for you doing that, because we know that you don't have to. We know that our fathers are supposed to do this and they should be there. We know that, but they're not there. And so I am extremely grateful once again to my uncle who passed away in 2003. And I am very grateful to all the men that I can't even name, the coaches playing basketball, football. I played baseball. I ran track. All the male teachers I had in high school. I'm grateful to all of them because I have no clue, and I mean this sincerely, I have no clue where I would be without them. But it is ultimately, at the end of the day, black men, it is your choice.
So let me say this to what Trey said. I don't think there's a man on the panel that would disagree with what you said. But you made very interesting points, though, because remember, you said your uncle took you in. Family usually does that. Family usually does that. You know, I mentor my nephew. I take him out. He's 1,000 miles away from his dad, always asking me questions. And I just told him, you could text me. You know that, right? You know that, right? You could text me. When we go into the Rockets game, we go into the Astros game, he coming with us. So naturally, men take care of their own family. I think what Dr. Umar is saying is go outside of that to help someone. Even the example you gave about helping a child with a meal. I think that's a natural response from most men. I know most men to be kind and benevolent like that when you see another boy struggling. The issue, I think, is that what Dr. Umar is trying to get going is he's trying to extend that out past just one meal. He wants men to feel total familial responsibility for kids that aren't theirs. And the one thing I will say that your mother probably did, I don't know, I'm not in your family, don't want to speculate. I told you, there's something about when you go to foreign countries, you go to other places, when they're dealing with fatherlessness because like through war, where the fathers died, these women ultimately know the value of a man and they will go seek out another man. They will literally, please just take us under your wing. Like they will humbly come to you and say, I cannot weather these circumstances by myself. Please help me. And men will rise to the occasion and do that. All right. So really what it is that in most communities, there are 8 husbands and 2 single mothers. 8 husbands can help 2 single mothers. Somebody gonna take their kid, like, he could come to us with the game. I could pay I could pay for baseball for him. Now there are 2 fathers in the Black community, and you're telling us to help the other 8 single mothers. It's lopsided here. We can't do it. It won't scale. But let me get to
I want to agree with you, Trigger Mike, but unfortunately, in the line of work that I was in, I dropped off a ton of kids at child services, a ton of them, and I never saw the men there to pick them up. I always saw women. I always saw aunts. I always saw sisters. I always saw grandmothers. I never saw uncles. I never saw uncles there to pick them up. And hang on. And even when we called and said, "Hey, do you want us to drop this kid off to you?" I have had men look me dead in my eye and say, "That's not my kid." So I want to agree with you, but my experiences are different when it comes.
But what I'm saying, wait. So you're saying somebody picked them up other than their father?
Yeah, the father wasn't in the picture.
Well, so I will actually debate. Hold on. I will actually debate with you on that, because we have to look at, first off, we understand mothers usually have primary or the custodial parent. So there's a lot of gray area as to why a father either wouldn't want to pick his child up or doesn't feel like he has the right to. And the reason why you will get, remember, we are talking about women and the propensity to want to control things. I have seen in my line of work where a father will show up in the mental hospital for a family therapy session that the son called him to show up to, and the mom's throwing a fit just because he showed up. Because now she actually has to atone for her mistakes. She has to talk about it openly and publicly, and she has a loss of control in that situation. I think that whole picking up thing, it does smell to me like if she lets the father pick him up, then she has some kind of loss of control in that situation, and they don't want that.
You guys know what you guys know what most Amber Alerts are?
Where?
Runaways.
You know why they call?
Child custody. It's the father has them for the weekend.
Yeah.
Didn't return them on time, or taking them to somewhere he didn't get clearance for.
Yeah.
Well, Triple Black, it's your turn, man. Go.
I thought it was my turn.
Nah, Triple Black.
Okay.
I still ain't win either.
And you know what? The thing about it with Umar, I know Umar, sometimes I be thinking like intellectual people sometimes try to, and he's a contrarian. They try to they out-intellectualize themselves, and they end up sounding stupid. Because he's a way too smart to be up there saying what he was saying. And I think either that he was around, those guys were a little bit younger. They were in their, late 20s, early 30s. I can't see him getting in a room with a group of men like us that actually lived through the 80s, and we've seen the whole welfare check and all this type of shit. We've seen that stuff. Those kids didn't never see. I mean, those young dudes didn't never see that stuff. So he could shame, blame, and explain to them all day long. They're easy to shame. They're easy to sway because a lot of them were raised by single mothers. So I was like looking at some type of proverb, to try to explain, because
Omar is not that stupid. He could not be that stupid to try to lay the onus on the men when he grew up in a generation where he's seen it with his own two eyes. Tell me, like he's telling me, oh no, you know what? These women all, it's just like we didn't step up. They were not complicit in the destruction of the black community. It was all the men. And then at one point he said it was all the men, and then it was white supremacy. I was like, which one is it? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Is it white supremacy or is it black men? You're confusing me, and you're probably confusing yourself too. You're confusing me. You're confusing yourself. You're confusing the young men. You probably confusing the sisterhood. I mean, the only thing I can think of is in the 48 Laws of Power when they said, you know what? You stir the water to catch fish, or you court attention at any cost, because what he got up there and said is not congruent with anything that he's talked about in the past. Nothing. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's just hiding things in plain sight and he just thinks we're all stupid, or he's on drugs. I don't know. He's got to pick something. It makes no sense.
You can A.
Okay, guys. Let me turn off my video. So look at it this way. Let me put it this way. We human beings always talk about or protect our interests. Dr. Umar has his interest. His interest has to do with the black woman and tapping into the black society in terms of how he thinks he's going to benefit him. I will put it this way. Dr. Umar always cover things about race, African diaspora, African integration, and African business. Those are his interests. Another interest of his is being more sympathetic to the single motherhood, because I've listened to his shows a lot. And one thing that I found out in his shows is that he's very sympathetic to those group of women, mostly unmarried women, single mothers, because that's where he came from. You see what I'm saying? So not every man that come in that environment supports that environment. Some people know that the environment is very bad, not good for the furtherance of the black society and the black race and the black family, and they want it to stop. You see what I'm saying? So to him, stopping something like that has to deal with black men marrying black women, or getting involved with black women that don't have ladder, like a ladder of how to, or that's the ladder to get himself to a better position. You see what I'm saying? So he believes that the best way to do something like this is to get a black family involved by getting the black man to marry the black woman. So to me personally, it's rewarding bad behavior. You see what I'm saying? Just like I've always said, when you get a black man to marry a single mother, you're rewarding bad behavior. Every single mother has to wait until the youngest child in her family is 18 to be able to marry again or be in a relationship. Because if that is implemented, she will know that she cannot have access to a man or be allowed to or be enabled to have access to a man, whereas she used herself to get a child when she's not supposed to have that child. She allowed herself to get into a relationship with a man without protecting her womb. You see what I'm saying? So when a man marries a single mother, you're rewarding a bad behavior. You shouldn't reward a bad behavior. You see what I'm saying? You shouldn't do that, because when you do that, it fosters. So some people have heard me say this many times, and they say that, oh, I'm against single motherhood. I said, no, I'm against what the kids go through when they are in single motherhood household. It's not a good experience. I've never been in that experience, and I don't wish to be in that experience. Never want my child to be in that experience, because it's not a good experience. And the reason why these things still continue to today is because there are men out there that go and reward these women. You see what I'm saying? There are men out there that go and reward these women. So we need to stop this. We need to punish people for bad behavior. That's just what I believe.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think you're right, but I think ultimately men have already kind of judged. It is extremely hard for single mothers to get married. They're already competing against women with no children. They're competing against younger women. They're competing against immigrants coming into this country. So men have already judged them. Likely men will never stop smashing them, but I think when it comes to giving out rings, they kind of get the picture now that, as my man EBD said the other day, in the history books, they're going to serve it as a cautionary tale about what not to do because there's too many of them, and they're going to have most of them are going to have bad circumstances. All right, JT, you there?
Yeah.
What up, bro?
I mean, what's good? We hear this all the time now. We should be used to it at this point. We should.
What's going on my phone?
Well,
My phone is tripping.
yeah. Yeah, all right. Yeah, we should be used to it at this point, man. We hear the hey, somebody need to mute up.
It's Spark, but I can't mute his
Hey,
mic.
King Spark, you got to mute up.
Yeah, something going on with it. I can't.
JT, make sure
Yeah, I
you
think
give
he was
that same
froze up.
respect because we can hear your navigation system while other people were talking.
Okay, if y'all could have heard that, y'all could have let that be known, and I could have handled that.
That's all right, man. Go ahead, brother.
But nobody spoke on it, so how would I know?
Trey being toxic as usual.
All right, yeah. But we hear this all the time, man. We should be used to it. It's the wild card that we always get thrown on us when there's nothing else to resort to, and that's we're the leaders, so it's always our fault. And I would agree to a certain degree that yeah, it would be the men's fault, but we also have to have people take accountability for not being able to follow men who are good leaders, because we're telling these men to start helping and providing for these single mothers and for kids who don't have a father in the house, when in order to get to the kids you got to get past the mother. And how can a man do everything that he needs to do to raise these boys up to be men if the mother is running interference? And then we have to deal with what Umar is talking about. Umar, I don't see how nobody has really caught on yet, but majority of the people who donate to him are women. So if he speaks a certain way and he throws down a certain type of propaganda, then he's gonna keep his supporters, and people gonna do by any means necessary what they need to do to keep their supporters. What his program is and what he is arguing that we should do is what I would call that's maintenance, community maintenance. The community is gone. We need to repair the community. So that don't work for right now. That's something that will work if the community was already together. Then yeah, we can go and knock next door and tell the kids to come out and then handle the kids. Everything he's explaining is what we used to do as men years ago before the community got to the point that it is now. But when you have men, the Pookies and Ray Rays doing what they're doing, how do you expect the woman to even trust you to knock on her door and tell you what you're gonna do with her kids? So what he's explaining for us to do, that's way past. We far gone from that. We gotta repair the community first, and that means we gotta work from the opposite end of the spectrum, which means we gotta start downing and making sure we calling out the dysfunction and the degeneracy in our community instead of supporting it. And that's where the women need to come in, because we can't just say that men were raised and or either woke up one morning and decided to just be these F boys and not care and do all of this. every man on here, every black man that I know has been raised by his mother to treat a woman with respect, love a woman, cater to a woman. We've been taught to do all these to women. And then when we're growing up in school, we realize that dudes that do that did not get the women. That's how you got a lot of dudes the way they are today, because you seeing other dudes who get the women who don't do none of that, that don't care about them, that don't take the time out to them, that disrespect them, and they are falling at his feet. So you have a lot of men who weren't even like that, who changed like that just to get the attention of a woman. So we're gonna need the women to step on up on this part and stop accepting the BS from the dudes that you are. Stop having babies by the same half of the kids, half of the men who have the kids in the community, and then that'll help us get to where we want to get. But like I said, what he's explaining for us to do is way past gone. That's something we do after the community is already fixed. But right now we are far past that. So now it's time for the discipline and downing the dysfunction. That's my opening thoughts.
I bet. EBD, what's going on, bro?
I'm chilling. Can everybody hear me okay? I don't want to be too loud or anybody's there.
No,
All
you
right.
sound good.
All right. So try and keep it brief because everyone's made some good points. So this goes back to one of my thoughts before about how if we were able to flip the script for 1 minute and have it acknowledged by the court system and by every legal system that a child that comes into the planet Earth is by default the man's child, a lot of this would have been probably avoided, right? I say that because if we are the primary custodians of said child or children, how many baby mamas will we have, right? Number one. Number two, if the relationship doesn't work out with said baby mom, we're not going to be the ones talking about, I don't need a woman to raise these kids, right? So then we're going to always be on the hunt for the next woman that comes into our life, offers us peace, and can, maybe manage children or at least help out with that, right? Number two. Number three, think about our careers, our professionalism, right? We do tend to work harder for a family rather than being single, right? So if we're able to have the Pookie and Ray Rays knock up a chick, not have responsibility or ownership of the kids, how hard is he going to work on the road to improve himself, right? Why do I have to do it? It's disincentivized. The less money he makes, the less money he has to pay for child support for all of his children, right? To how many baby mamas he's got. So if he was also, I believe that if by default we were awarded primary custody of children or the child that we make, we wouldn't be in jail either, because you're splitting up a home and a family of the primary custodian with those two children, and now you're granting two children to the state. And so now you're shifting the burden at the cost of a family when the man who is the leader of the family can provide and take care of those children. That means no government assistance, and that means that he's paying taxes on those two children, and the children are able to see a functioning, a more functional relationship rather than a single mother who doesn't think she needs a man at all, right? And that toxic ideology, where feminine says you don't need a man in order to be an effective parent, wouldn't have been so prominent if men by default are the ones who have the children. I just think that if we rewind the clock back and change that one rule, a lot of this could have been avoided on our end. We would have been, there would be no Dr. Umar Johnson, because we would be the ones taking care of the children. We would be the ones in functioning relationships and marriages that last longer. We wouldn't be the ones, the Pookies and the Ray Rays, knocking up every woman, because every woman doesn't have the burden of having those children anymore. It's only the man. So how much running around are you really going to do if the child by default that you create is going to be underneath your house, your rules, this and that? So I think that if we, even if we want to say, well, how do we fix it now? I think that one rule needs to change. I think that since life actually comes from us into a mother for 9 months, that by default it's ours. Right? If the court system saw that it was ours and that we had primary custody of our children, we would do much better at effectively raising them in a functioning household, teaching them what a relationship or a marriage actually is, the daughters would know unconditional love and protection and provision from their fathers, and they would have a much better choice about what kind of man they want to be with. So there's a lot of problems that probably could be solved if we were actually awarded primary custody of our children. So that's kind of my opening thought. So men did not create this problem, right? But we are the solution to it.
Yeah, and to that effect, one of the things that we need to remember is that when people say that men are ultimately responsible, remember what men did this. Remember that there are more male virgins today than there are female virgins, and that the large majority of women are procreating with the lowest ranking members of the Black community. Because even to Trey's point earlier, you said you were a cop in DC. That is literally, I can almost think of no place worse for single motherhood. Like that's the worst place. You know, I'm from VA, so most of my college homies was up there. I spent a large amount of time in the early 2000s up there. Even the college educated folks, the neighborhoods we would go back to, like, damn, was it Northeast, Southeast? What? I used to be like, bro, I'm turning around. I'm not. Who about to drive through this hood? The worst, most dilapidated hoods I've ever seen in my life are in DC. But my brother lives in PG County now. And the funny thing about it is that go to the neighborhoods where dads are present. I bet you they'll be the first one picking their son up. Right? So that's the one thing I do know about present fathers is that not only are they involved, they have a passion and an intensity about their children because of proximity to them. To EBD's point, if you cannot expect fathers to have this closeness with their child without actual proximity to them. That's both our faults, by the way. Remember, men trivialize sex, women trivialize childbirth. Like DMT Zell said, his mother had no business giving his father a child. Men need to stop trivializing sex that can actually result in the birth of a child. Women need to stop birthing children out of a way to keep a man or make a baby that you think is going to love you forever and take care of you when you're old. My bad, Callie Bev. Come back up. I'm about to drop the link again. See, she dropped out. But I'm going to let you up. I got the next question stewing. She probably coming up here to gaslight us all, so be prepared. That means I got a bunch of good questions. Anybody can jump in. Why does Dr. Umar expect good men to be the cleanup men for single mothers? Anybody?
I don't know, but he's not doing it.
Yeah, go ahead, JT. Go ahead.
I was just all I wanted to say. I don't see him doing it. I thought he made a baby mama, but I don't know him like that. That's just what I've heard.
I think we need to, we need to ignore some of the shit that Umar Johnson is saying. We know he's been, listen, I applaud him for trying to open a school, but I think his ego has gotten in the way because that school should have been up and running, but just at a smaller scale. And if he would have scaled it down to something that was manageable and could have been open in like 3 or 4 or 5 years or less, by now it could have been this school that he always dreamed of because he had to show some receipts and some success. But, I just think that it's just part of his overall grift, right? And, he goes back and forth on whose side he's on. And I like the brother, but, I always have an issue with blackity black people, right? If you're blackity black, you're playing on victimization, you're playing on, ties to Africa and all that kind of stuff. And, it's part of your message is the victimization of one group or the other, namely black people. And I don't like that. And so I'm going to just end it there. I just want to say one thing to King Spark. I like what you had said in the opening thing, King Spark, because I did volunteer, boys in, a Big Brother program. I used to go every weekend to teach young kids in high school. Yeah, but that's not the level that I got from Umar Johnson. He's almost talking about men getting in harm's way with some of the most ratchet women with kids. Because there are women out there, if you take care of their kids, they try to put you on child support. And stuff like that.
Rich, I got a question for you. How many schools have you opened up?
No, I haven't opened up any schools. That's why I said I admit. That's why I said I admit.
How can you tell somebody how long it should take? If
No,
you've never done it yourself.
no. You didn't say what. You didn't hear what I said. You
said
didn't
he
hear what I
shoulda-
said. I said I admired him trying to do that.
The
But his
admiration is
skill-
irrelevant. I'm
Hold
asking
on.
you, how long
Wait a
should it
minute
take?
now.
Hold
His
on.
skill-
So we can't have the discussion about Dr. Umar opening a school until he actually opens the shit.
Well, I'm just curious. How long? I just want to hear from the experts at who open schools. How long it should take?
No, I didn't say how long it should take. I said he should have scaled it down.
You said it should have been open by now.
No,
Well, he
I
said
said he should have scaled it down to something he could have opened within 2 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Because people have done it.
Hold on.
Knowledge from your
This is why I can't allow the school talk on Dr. Umar. This is why I
No,
can't.
Hold
on, y'all. Last year or maybe 2 years ago, the state of Pennsylvania encouraged people to stop sending donations because he's not a registered nonprofit. So literally, you have no accounting for where your money is going. He literally, like I'm telling you, as prominent as he is in these areas getting called for interviews, if you're opening something like a school, and his answer always changes. 2 years ago, it was the HVAC. What was it when he went on Breakfast Club this time? Like, you can easily assess, especially somebody with his level of notoriety and fame at this point, he can do something. As somebody who's in medical education, higher education, but myself, I've opened 3 programs in like the last 5 years. He could do the same. In fact, Dr. Umar, I'll help you for free. This is my area of expertise.
Trigger, could have been doing courses online.
We can get FDMG online popping in 3 months.
He could be doing what we're doing right now, StreamYard, charging people for StreamYard.
I will donate curriculum for math and science.
I worked fraud. If that man was committing fraud, somebody would have reported him by now.
What?
If he was committing fraud, because that's essentially the inference that you guys are making. If it's taking that long, that means that he's doing something fraudulent with the money. That's the inference that's being made.
Nobody said that.
So if the school isn't up by now, and he's been getting all this money in the state of Pennsylvania, is telling people not to donate, that means that he's doing something wrong with the money. And I'm telling you, as a former fraud investigator, it takes that much for people to report fraud.
Because
they'll stop you on the street and tell you.
Trey, a former everything, man.
Yes, I've lived a full life. Yes,
nobody else mentioned fraud, though, Trey.
Yeah, wow.
If I was gonna say fraud, I would have said fraud.
Check this out. Let me say something.
Let me just finish.
Your phone ain't gonna go out my name.
Let me finish what I'm saying. Yo, Trey, I know where you're coming from because there's a whole lot of Umar fans out there. All I said was, and first of all, I started out saying I admire what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying that because of the scale of what he's trying to do, I'm thinking if he would have scaled it to something, because he got a big ego. I mean, we could sit down here and argue back and forth, but he does. And so I'm saying if he would have scaled it, he would have had a school open with maybe around 40, 50 students.
How do you know?
Because other people have done it. Other people have already done it.
Yeah.
He's not the first guy who tried to open a school. Other people have done it. And he's getting a donation. So listen, he got $750 grand.
I asked you how do you know, and you told me what somebody else.
Man, listen, man. Okay, for you to ask me, how do I know this? It's the same reason why they tell somebody who never played football.
I don't know because I've never done it before.
You're asking
Hey, Payne, you know what the problem is,
Payne? Never played football. How could you announce football game?
Payne, you know what the problem is, Payne? I'm gonna tell you this. The problem is that our people are too busy trying to put together the biggest fucking car shows and shit like that instead of trying to do something with real impact, like help with that goddamn school. People are coming from far and wide to stunt with they Bentleys and Lamborghinis and Wraiths and all this shit.
Yeah.
Right? But they ain't pulled up. They can hold a goddamn car show at the goddamn school.
Exactly.
He's acquired the property. So we need to come far and wide to support some shit like that.
Well, I will say this is why I don't understand what the issue is, because Trey is right somewhat, because I'm actually waiting for it. I think it's going to be pretty terrible because there's no way I would never want to collect this much money without a thorough accounting of where the money is going. So that's why I'd be like, please don't let this dude get a fraud investigation when he actually has a building, when he actually, is a psychologist who can help kids. I really don't want that to come down. But then again, it's like you don't tell people where the money's going. Also, he collects donations through avenues that aren't necessarily that the government is trying to regulate right now. So that's why I'm like, if he's sending it, if you're getting money through the appropriate channels, through endowments, etc., you can't mess with that. They'll call fraud quick. But he takes Cash App. You don't know what the hell he doing with that. So
I'm sorry, just real quick. I used to work for a credit union. If all of your finances that are tied to an entity, whether it's physical or metaphysical, such as online, has to be tied to a specific bank account, which you can report to the IRS for every dollar and every cent that goes in and out. So has to be tied not only to the account, has to be tied to the EIN number that you have to register, has to be tied to a debit or credit card in which you can document all your transactions. It has to be kind of straight. So yeah, you can actually get hit up for a missed tee.
Hold up, EBD. Now we know where the money going. Until he get the tennis court that opened up so the X-Jet can come out the bottom of the school. He's not opening the school. Oh man, that was funny.
Just to put a cap on that.
I am curious about the funding too. I'm very curious about the funding too. But I don't know what it takes. I don't know the inner workings of what it takes to build a school from scratch in the state of Delaware, nonetheless. For those of you who don't know, that's where his stomping grounds were. So I don't know what it actually takes. I will say this, to King Sparks' point, I think if even one celebrity had lent their popularity, he might be further along. And I find it quite interesting that while we have all of these celebrities, all of these influencers, nobody's getting behind them. Now that could be a two-part thing. That could be they don't like Dr. Umar, they don't want to work with him. That could be a part of it. Or they don't believe in what he's saying.
I heard a few people have offered to finish it. Somebody. Damn, this was like 2 years ago, but it was in one of the interviews with Charlemagne. Don't quote me, but somebody was like, I heard such as he just pressed him. I heard such and such was like, well, let me give him the money to finish the school. This is like that's little money to like Jay-Z, Robert Smith. He said somebody said, but he kind of evaded from that because I don't know what his actual purpose is, but as popular as he is and as much fame as he has, I think what is holding him, he said he wants black people to do every bit of labor that needs to be done in that school. To me, that part is a bit foolish.
Mm-hmm. If there, well, that could be.
We know the Mexicans will have that school open tomorrow. I don't care what.
That could be a holdup trigger because here in DC there are laws against, like, what I mean, like you have to, if you're going to build something that's like on a public space or something along the line, the government gets to dictate who you use. Yeah. So if he's fighting, if that is what he's fighting, then I can understand, because he wants to use certain people depending on the color of the skin. And maybe the Delaware government is telling him, nah, you need to use.
And he wouldn't hesitate.
Like for instance, I don't know if you guys do real estate, but if you use certain loans, you have to use certain contractors within their little network. You know what I mean?
If Dr. Umar is listening,
if the government, the white supremacy government was stopping him, he would out that in a second. Yeah, that's what his whole.
It's not pain. It's ideas like what you said that's stopping them. How you gonna be as black as you are and talk about you don't like blackity blacks?
No,
how that sound and how that look?
Listen, blackity black ideology, brother. I'm black, and I believe I don't believe in victimization.
Let me ask you this question. Do they have Chinatown in your city?
Yeah, but you built Chinatown.
Is Chinatown diverse, or is it goddamn Chinatown?
It's Chinatown.
Okay, pause right there. Is there a place in your city where it's the majority Spanish people live in the neighborhoods and the bodegas? Is that diverse, or is it just Spanish people?
No. It's not.
Okay. So here we go. So that means, here I'm going. I'm about to go. I'm about to take you there. Just give me a second. Okay. What I'm saying is that all these other communities are able to stick together, and it's not called Spanish. Spanish. It ain't called none of that.
It's not.
It's called them people just sticking together. So why we can't do the same thing?
Let me answer. We used to have places that were black. Black businesses, back this, back that. As soon as integration came, we flew. We flew and left all those black businesses and all the black stuff that we had set up behind. Period. I mean, that's what happened.
That's not completely true though. That's not
Let
completely
me finish.
true.
Let me, you guys.
That's not completely true
Let
though.
me finish. So all I'm just trying to say is, if we were on the same tip as the Spanish, well, let me give you one better. When Haitians come here or Jamaicans come here, they have the same mindset as the other immigrants who come here. They have Haitian communities with all black. Nigerians have places where they congregate, and so does the West Indians. They have West Indian, and Brooklyn has a big West Indian. What I'm saying is, black Americans have something in us that doesn't allow that, right?
No, yes, you know what? It's other black Americans that are pushing that blackity black narrative and thoughts like that.
Black narrative is that part of the blackity black narrative is the fact that we have to be victims. The white fucking supremacy is keeping us back. Yes, but that's what they say all the time. They lead with that shit. Umar Johnson leads with the fact that we're some
with the
oppressed
systematic
motherfucking
racism and
kids
stuff.
who can't get no, excuse my language, who can't get nowhere. I don't like to hear that shit.
I think we could definitely get somewhere.
I gotta say,
ain't nothing wrong with us sticking together. There's nothing wrong with us sticking together. Everybody else get to stick together. Everybody get to stick together like glue. And as soon as we start sticking together, it's a problem.
You want to know? You want to know why?
Do it.
No, but guys, you want to know why those other communities are able to stick together like that? Because they all share and they all bought into a particular value system, and they all bought into it, and they all make it work. Between our community, the men's value system and the black women's value system is totally different. And that's the issue that we have, right? If we can all sit together at the table and say, hey, this is what the value system is going to be, this is what the principle is going to be, and we can all agree and sign and shake hand and hug and make that happen, then we stand up had a chance of doing that. But that's not going to happen. That's the difference between our communities. Those other communities, they got a value system and everybody follows it.
Under the Nation of Islam, we had that with we had an opportunity where black men and black women had a value system, and it was going to be Islam, but not everybody signed on to it, for other reasons or another. So we actually do have a working model of black women and black men who are in leadership, men who are self-improving, men who don't do drugs, own their own business, and network with other Islam as well. We do actually have a working example, but not everybody signed on to it.
I gotta put it this way. Let me put it this way for you guys, right? Dr. Umar, right, wanted that thing to be done by black people. Yes, he said it. And besides that, it's a private organization, so he didn't require government approval or government policy to be able to hire who he wants to hire. But what happened is that when he hired black people, they wouldn't do the job. For 2 years, black people never showed up to do the job.
Because he didn't want to pay them.
Nope. But guess what happened? White people came and did the job in 1 week
because
for less the price. That's what he said. I'm going by the man's words. I cannot put my words on the man. That's what the man said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And guess what? Not only did he say that, I got to say this again. I have 2 people that have told me the same thing. These are very close friends of mine, women. A lady out in Alabama, she works for a U.S. government contractor. Hired a black company to come and work for, to come and do a landscaping for her, right? They showed up and found out that she lived in a 7 acre of land. The price went up by 25%. She fired them because that wasn't the agreed price. She fired them, hired a white company. The white company did it for less the initial quote. Also, I have a friend that hired a black contractor out of state to come to Memphis, Tennessee to do a job for her. The guy was charging her $3,000 more than the white people would. And the black company wanted her to pay for their hotel accommodation. She hired a white company. A white company came and did it for cheaper price without no hotel accommodation.
But that's not a fair quip. That's not a fair
That's
No,
question.
no, no,
not.
no, no, no,
Everybody
no,
has
no,
their
no,
Because you don't know,
no,
how
no.
scared, how big, how
If you
scared the
guys,
companies, the two
That sounds
companies
like
were.
business.
if you
That's
guys,
business. You're right, Trey.
if you guys will always allow people to speak, sometimes you're gonna understand how bad black people do business. I own a clothing line. Trigger Mike, you know about it.
Mhm.
I had to now go open a whole big company that will produce the cloth for me in Nigeria instead of me using the black guys in Nigeria to do it. You know why? Because the guys in Nigeria were charging me the price for sewing one cloth for 1,000 clothes. So they're charging me retail price. And I said to them, why are you going to charge me retail price if I'm going to sell 500 clothes from you? If I'm going to sell 1,000 clothes for you, you're supposed to give me money. You're supposed to give me wholesale price. They refuse. They say, oh God, we don't. They say we don't do that kind of business. We're going to charge you retail price. I got so mad. I had to go open my own to do it myself. Hire the best professionals to do it. You know why? Because black people all over the world don't know how to do business.
No, brother. The black people, what I want you to do right now
Hold
is
on.
grab your telephone and I want you to Google my reviews at Smoke Something
So hold
Smoke
on, hold
Shop,
on.
and you
Spark,
tell me
Spark,
what they
Spark, Spark,
say. Because
Spark.
we doing good
Hold on,
business
Spark,
over
hold on,
here.
Spark, hold on, Spark. Because I know that pokes at the side of good black men. Like I'm a business owner, I do good business. Spark, I like
I'm
most
glad.
the thing that he's actually saying, which I agree with. The business acumen of a lot of blacks is low. This is a problem with black business, especially in places where there are a lot of black people, like Houston, DC. You will pay for brunch and parking. The issue is that black people don't have a problem opening a business. We know black women don't have a problem forming an LLC. They'll go all out for the damn grand opening and shit. But when it comes to actual customer satisfaction and when it comes to scaling a business, our business acumen is extremely low. Customer service is
The
like
worst.
that's the number one complaint. And the issue is, and what I mean by scale, is that if you are expecting a certain number of people, don't make them pay for don't get a valet that they need to pay for so you can take a percentage of the valet. Make valet free and let them tip the valet. This is business acumen. You see what I'm saying? Let everyone get parking for free. It will keep the flow of people coming in, getting so if you know you have a certain amount of people who are going to buy drinks by volume. That's what people don't understand. They don't understand
Mike,
revenue by volume.
we can't
They
do
want
that,
to
Mike.
tax everything.
We
Only at a
can't do
black
that.
establishment. Hold on. Only at a black establishment will you pay for valet. Will you pay at the door? Will you pay an upcharge on drinks? Will you
I'm
pay for
gonna tell you
They
why.
don't.
I'm gonna tell you why. The only reason why it's like that is because if you don't do that, you're gonna have Pookie and Ray Ray and Shaniqua tear your
What?
whole
No,
goddamn
smart.
club and
That's an
restaurant
issue.
up
That's an
if
issue.
you don't do that. I'm
That's an
telling you
issue.
right now.
Let me
That
answer.
is
Let
why
me
you
answer.
have a club.
I think it
They
can
He
go
gonna
gonna
tear
ways,
your shit
bro.
We
up.
can top it up
I think it
because
go
there are
both
other ways.
ways.
Hold
outprice the
on.
ghetto. Outprice the ghetto people.
You right.
No.
No,
They
you
got money
right.
too.
It go
That's what
ways.
you
They got
have to
money
do.
too.
Let me
And they paying the security guard in the back so they can get their strapping. Stop
I'm
it.
trying to
Stop
tell you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So at places, and I noticed the same thing. But you know what the difference is? White people, when they break up their classes, they don't want to hang with each other. The redneck white boys that want to drive their trucks and go mudding and do what they do and hang out where they kind of hang out, they don't want to go on Capitol Hill and hang out with them dudes up there.
But they can go
Anytime.
They can go tomorrow.
But they don't. So that's why it's separate, right? That's why they put something in like a dress code or something like that to split that shit up. But black people, once they hear some goddamn 50 cents playing on the corner, you gonna have if you tell them it's free to get in and it's free parking and it's free everything, you gonna have the whole. You might as well have a job fair at that bitch because you're gonna have hella unemployed motherfuckers
Hold on, bro.
up in your business standing around
Hold on. There are
drunk
other,
off of
there are
Cisco
other
talking
ways.
shit.
there are other ways to secure your establishment from Pookie other than
That's
like.
right.
So does it make sense
Correct.
now that black people have to be overcharged to have a good time and be safe? Does that
Brother,
make
I'm just telling you. I'm just
Yes, it
telling you
makes
how it
perfect
goes,
sense.
brother. I'm just
To the
telling you
lack
how it goes.
of business acumen, to the lack of business acumen. When we go through our education system is completely different than our European counterparts. They are taught management. They're taught to own. They're taught to inherit wealth. They're taught how the mathematics behind it. They're taught the accounting. They're taught the contracts. They're taught the legal. All through their education system, they have been taught to be on top. We have been taught to be the employee. We have been taught to be a good worker, to show up on time, to do our work from 9 to 5. We've been taught to overachieve at the job so that we can maybe get a raise. We're not taught to actually own the business and run the business and hire people and handle wealth and inherit property and handle the commercial, the state of commerce. We're not taught these things from jump, which is why we
Then
have
give
this
Dr.
gap
Umar the
of
money then, because he's trying to teach
I'm
that.
why we have this gap.
going to counter that. I'm going to counter that EBD. I'm going to counter that. You know what I'm going to counter that? School will never teach you how to start a business, how to do this and how to do that. Except
We
if you
have
go to
plenty of them.
No, I'm coming. Except if you go to elite schools like Harvard, Yale, then you get those kind of teaching. But most of the time, those kind of teaching come from family that already has stuff like that going on.
Yeah, I
If
agree.
the family doesn't have that kind of exposure, the kids are not going to learn it. Because if you look at it, white people are still the highest big employees in the whole country. They're the biggest employer. They're the biggest employees, right? Because not every white folk is taught to be a business owner. In fact, black people own more LLC than black women own more LLC than white people.
We shouldn't
In
glorify
terms of
those LLCs.
percentage.
But
You see,
numerically speaking, they outnumber us. Yes, but think about the
no. I say in terms of percentage. In terms of
think about the
percentage.
ladder. Think about the ladder of how fast they can climb. Who here?
Because there is 400 to 600 years
Right.
of stack up.
Yeah, but not
So
only
they've
that,
been taught.
but in college they're groomed to actually take over a business.
Okay.
Wait. The sorority thing, the whole sorority thing. Your dad went here and he was a part of this house. I was a part of this house. You're welcome into this business, into this corporate space.
I'm not trying to cut you off, but I'm trying to say something. I'm not trying to cut you off, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. It's your environment. Black people here are the product of the environment. I'll tell you why. In Nigeria, ask the trigger mark. In Nigeria, in Igbo land, right? The people from Igbo land are almost 70% business owners. And almost none of those businesses fail. They are intact. You know why? Because there is almost 5,000 years of entrepreneurship with this tribe. You see what I'm saying? Throughout centuries and millennia, they've been groomed to always own a business. They are black people. Then, white entrepreneurship actually was copied from the Igbo land. They copied that types of business doing from Nigeria when they came way back in the 12th centuries. That's when they learned how to do those business. Then they took it to the West. It's been around for a long time. That's an African idea. Entrepreneur is an African idea. Owning company, getting people to work for you, and stay working for you for eternity is a Nigerian idea. It's a Nigerian business strategy, business acumen. But over here is the product of the environment, because what they did is that they didn't start it when they came over here as slaves. They never continued it. You see what I'm saying?
You know what else? You can't group all black people in America together, okay? Because we don't listen. We don't come like that, okay? There's 3 distinct groups of black people in America, okay? You have the niggers with the hard ER, okay? They have the bonnets, okay? They have the furry pants, okay? They have the Dracos, okay? They wear their pants very, very, very low, okay? And they're potentially dangerous. All right. Now you have the uppity blacks. You have the Carlton Bankses of the world who don't even think that they're black anymore. They don't even want to associate with colored people at all. All right, and then right in the
Oh, God did it. God did it.
No,
God did.
Bro,
no.
that's in every race.
God did.
The metrics came for you.
God, the Matrix
What was
came for
number
your ass,
three? What?
bro.
Wait. His ass.
Nah, I
What was
told
number
you my
three?
phone
Number
went
three.
on the
No,
memory.
What was
No, but right in the
middle
middle.
class.
But listen,
Let him
right in the
finish. Let him
middle,
finish.
right in the middle, it's us regular black people that speak English, okay, and want to do regular cool shit. Don't want to bother nobody. Want to have communities. We still know how to dance. We still can fry chicken, but we're not looking for no goddamn trouble. Okay,
Black people that speak English.
those are the three groups of black people in this country.
That's every
Okay,
race.
all right. So you can't just when you talk about it, you can't just talk about it as this big old group of everything you saw on MTV. That's not how it goes. Okay. So that's what's out here. And that is why we need to stick together, but in a sense, the groups need to stick together. Now you can come up too, though. You can change. You can go from being ratchet as hell and come on up and get better habits and change your clothes and all.
So what he was speaking to is your argument about
Hey,
environment,
y'all.
because it doesn't matter in the 50 states what your environment is. You are not taught to be an owner, not in any education, not in any institution. In Nigeria, it may be different, but not in the United States. Black people are not, by default, are not taught to be a business owner or to think like that, or to behave like that, or to have the knowledge like that, right? It's going to be a certain type of education that we can have maybe some access to that we are not implicitly denied, to where we have that kind of information and can do well as business people for ourselves.
I have to disagree with you, EB.
He's right.
But on a funny level, right? Now, I mean, when you're down there selling them drugs, right? It is an organization. I'm not saying I'm really not trying to champion it, right?
Right.
But it is ran like a business. The youngsters are taught how to move product. You know what I mean?
Well, I know it's bad. It's a bad example. It's a bad example of business that we have to learn, but it is real. You're right.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? We are taught that, right? But we just seem to want to ignore the overall. But what I do agree with, we don't have the indoctrination of how to make it all work to the benefit of our legacy.
And there's a reason for that.
They employees when they selling drugs.
There's a reason for that. Why that's not instituted in most of the institutions, because it's about control, right? They want to make sure that they maintain that control and that supremacy, right? And they want to keep us down as much as possible. And there's only certain things that they're going to share. Now, I live here in New York City, but I work out, in Connecticut, and Connecticut has, some of the biggest, billionaires and hedge fund guys out there. And I see these guys passing down that wealth and that knowledge to their sons, right? I see it on a daily basis. It's something that, we as black people, aren't taught that. And it's a way for them to, again, maintain control, maintain superiority, so that therefore their particular race don't die out. And it's going to be really, really hard to topple that, because they control the biology, they control the environment, and they control the culture, right? So my particular mindset is that whoever controls the culture wins, and we all know that the white people, they control pretty much the culture and what's going on.
All right. Let me just say this too. I got to read super chats. Somebody said something about black women leading in LLCs. Dig a little deeper. Most businesses don't make it out of their first year, and a lot of those LLCs were for the purpose of opening an LLC. I hate that stat, because I was like, damn, like I wanted to celebrate. But here's the one thing I need y'all to do. Go back in history. Whenever men in general, any men on earth really, increase their level of business ownership and increase their level of education, their income goes up. So you would see it represented in the wage numbers. Now, black women are the most educated, the most enrolled in school for the past decade, and the number one openers of LLCs. Their net worth went backwards. So we have to look at numbers before we start glorifying these type of things. Literally, they'd be like CEO on a business card of a one-person company. Like I'm this is what I mean by business acumen. We suffer in the area of business acumen. People are like, oh, why don't you call yourself a CEO of because it's me and one other instructor, god damn it. That's why I'm a founder and lead instructor of my own company. I don't call myself a CEO of a one-person company. But anyway,
don't you need a board to be a CEO?
Exactly.
You need workers to be a
My
boss.
wife had a board of directors for a clinic.
component.
She
Yeah, you
didn't
need a
even call
board.
herself a CEO. Like, it's crazy,
Yeah.
bro.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah.
can we be honest though? Can we really be honest about this? A lot of wealth obtained over history was taking somebody else's shit. It was a tape, right? And then
Yes, absolutely.
So we have to be real about this, right? It ain't just plain and simple like that. Most nations in power, right? They took somebody else's shit, their wealth, added with their wealth, and boom, and then they implement shit to try to protect. Okay, so therefore, because naturally, we're men of war, right? And other men see other men and won't take other men's shit. So that's just the way we're built. This is why we're different from women, because we're conquerors. And Black people specifically, we're probably some of the most ambitious when it comes to the type of enactation when it's trying to take some shit. But it's just that we're in a systemic type system that is anti, right? Anybody else trying to be on their level, so they come and wipe us out. So that's all I'm saying. It's not that simple painted that, oh, well, we know this and this. No, most wealth for all the country and the people who obtained it took that shit and is still taking that shit, right? They're taking the resources and then saying, okay, and that's really the foundation of most all great wealth.
Indeed.
No, there's no morality in business.
Yeah, there's none.
People steal your idea. The music industry is ruthless. They will literally.
Do you
just
see
take
these
songs from
lawsuits?
people.
Yeah, you see these lawsuits that they draft.
Look at the deals.
They did what? Damn.
Business is business.
And just to finish out one more thing, add one caveat. And these are what the women are trying to implicate, or they're trying to duplicate, right? They're using the system to try to wipe out their man's wealth through this child support system.
Oh yeah, but it's like the biggest the biggest ass whooping in history, because if we lose, they lose. They just they don't see that.
Yeah.
If we lose, they lose. No, there is not
ain't nobody coming to save them.
There is not.
I think we all
woman,
can agree on that.
Listen,
yeah.
There's not one woman on this panel that has ever answered the question when I'll be like, have you thought about when you're 50, 55? They never. They're basically saying no. I haven't thought about that.
Hey, Big Trigger Mike,
What other man do you think is going to?
They're vampires. They'll never age.
You know what that comes from, Trigger Mike? You remember when you grow up?
Hold on, real quick. Let me get these super chats ready.
Right.
Hold on, Rufus. Let me get these ready. My man Luis, design, the architect, $5. If we're going to get blamed for other people's poor choice of women, then we need to start having arranged marriages to help vet and avoid these cycles. I'm all for it. My daughter is currently Trey getting fixed up first. In fact, we're gonna do a toxic. Put a one in the chat if you want to see a toxic Trey show. I want the most toxic women in the chat to come on up.
I have no choice.
He will tell you
I have
straight
no
to your
choice in the
face.
matter, Trigger.
Not the lost boy.
No, none.
I can't
none.
do it.
None.
Oh hell
We're
no.
putting the APB out on your ass. We're gonna find you and marry you off. Bob, $5.
You gonna end up on forensic files, all good.
When I hear the old heads talk, I think of that Key and Peele skit where old dude was walking around saying, brothers, brothers, brothers. Bob, $10, my man. The huge elephant in the room, stopping progress, is the legal system. Imagine if there was no laws against wailing a tune on your young brother who was out of pocket. Problems, Coyote, be solved overnight. Probably be solved overnight. All right. Tone, yo. $5. It's 2023. You can have a school online if the goal is education. Not sold on Umar. Told you. I'll donate my hours and I'll donate the math and science.
No, but the question is are you going to donate computers?
No, he gonna donate his time.
Hold on.
Hold on.
When we had COVID, and my son he stayed with me during the entire time of COVID, so he went to school.
Yeah.
I'm retired, so he didn't have to go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
We had to go up to a school and get laptops. These kids didn't have laptops.
Yeah.
And I even said to the teacher, well, my son doesn't need one. I mean, I have a desktop and a laptop. He'll be fine. and they were like, no, every kid has to take them, because if we don't give them to all of them, then it, you know what I mean, it's an equality and fairness thing. And the teacher told me, like, and plus, like 70 or 80% of the kids did not have a working computer at home. Now, they have phones, but
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do most children in your area have Jordans on their feet?
Listen, I'm not. That's not my argument.
I don't want to hear that.
I know where you're going with that, Trigger. I don't want to hear that. I don't disagree with you. There are a lot of parents who are irresponsible. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that if we're saying that we get to school online, got to fork over some money to get these kids some laptops too.
No.
Okay. All right. Last super chat. Advanced perception, $5. My girlfriend went to a Jewish middle school. They were taught how to invest and build businesses. Not even a magnet school that I went to had that. Man, let's not even talk about them. They're literally eating our lunch all day, every day, and with the stuff they teach, man. I think we have all of these examples of Chinatown, the small hat community, in the way they use their tax dollars and the system against itself. You can create a community to teach your kids whatever the hell you want. That's why I don't like critical race theory and none of that bullshit. Don't teach that stuff to white people kids. If you want your kids to learn Black history, take control of their schooling. Build a charter school for only Black kids. You can do it. You can actually do it. You can summon all those tax dollars from your neighborhood and say, I want it for each individual child to come to my school. You can do that, but we don't talk about that. All right, we're gonna get this next question popping. Let's get how you say your name, G? Is it Janelle? Janelle?
Yeah, Janelle. Yeah.
All right. Let me get you popping on this next question. All right. So according to Dr. Umar, I'm asking this because it's a little phrase I made up, because we keep saying Black men are the leaders. And yes, we are the leaders, but I want to make a distinction here. I want to see if y'all agree. Give me your best answer on this. Black men are the leaders of the Black functional class, and Black women are the leaders of the Black underclass. Is this true?
Well, I had a question for you guys. In the Bible, right? Who did Satan go to first? Did he go to Adam or did he go to Eve?
Eve.
So I even pointed out to my family. I was like, the only reason why like society is doing what they're doing, right? Because they know this makes money. If I can separate the man and the woman and make them compete, that's more money. So now it's like, okay, now women are out here saying, I don't need you no more. And it's just like, well, that's more money in my pocket. So it's like I can separate the family more if I separate the man from the woman. So, but even though the family falls apart, it's easier to point at the man. It just makes more money. You feel me? Like if your family falls apart, they don't say where your mom at. It's like where your daddy at. Always first. So it's just like the man is always the head, and that's why I said you are the head, not the tail. So it's just like men are usually, especially Black men, especially the whole narrative of Black men not being there, and they're always gonna come to you first, no matter what happened. They're never gonna blame the mom. They'd be like, "Oh, he's only bad because the daddy ain't there, not because the mom doing something or whatever." So it's always got to be the man. Not saying women can't do anything, but the man usually always has to be the leaders, because when something happens, you got to figure it out. Then you can't look at your girl and try to figure it out. You got to figure it out. So you have to be the leader, no matter what.
All righty. I like that. Anybody who wants to go on this? Curtis, in fact, we haven't heard from you. What do you think? Black men are the leaders of the Black functional class. And what I mean really of men literally just minding their business. Either you created a family, right? It's so weird to me how when I was younger coming up through college, and I almost want to regret going to a HBCU simply for the fact that you get indoctrinated in so much liberal shit, and the stuff that women talk about will actually make you start looking down on Black men. That's crazy, girl. He did what? Oh, damn. So they really had you out here thinking that most Black men weren't shit. But then you get out in the real world. I go out to all my fraternity events, all these men, like with all these married Black men and men that are doing things in the community, men that got their own businesses, Black doctors. We just silent. We don't talk nowhere near as much as the women do. So whatever narrative they decide to put out is going to take precedent. So what do you think? The Black men are the leaders of the underclass, and the Black women are the leaders of the black underclass. Is that true?
And we the leaders of our family, and it starts in the house. We can't work on the outside, so we work on the inside. Not it's too many people trying to work on the outside, and not enough working on the inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bet.
I'm calling dust as normal.
Let's do it.
You're either a leader or you're not. If you're a leader, you assume responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not convenient. We the leaders. Hey man, it just fell apart last week. Hey, the women's. Hey dude, you said you was leader last week. It fell apart. Accept the responsibility. Oh, it's the other people. It's by design. Well, damn.
Damn, you're gonna make me ask, Dusto. You're gonna make me ask. It's actually a whole question, but now I have to ask it in response to what you said. Can you protect what you cannot control? Can a person do
If you
that?
can't control it, that means you're not the leader, right?
No. So this is actually what I'm saying. Remember that black men, such as myself and the men on this panel, we take care of our own kids. We lead our own homes. We do all of that. So in essence, to what Dr. Umar was saying, we still have a fiduciary responsibility to single mothers in the hood to go take our ability, our time, and resources to go help them and be leaders for them. What I'm actually saying is every dude on this panel has done some kind of charity work, I'm sure, or you in the hood, you playing ball with them or whatever. But the minute you try to tell a black woman about her kid or how they need to be raised, you're met with a brick wall. So have I failed in leadership because I can't get through to that woman? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is it's conflating. I'm saying leader, everything around him, the people, whatever he assumes responsibility of, has his last name. When it falls apart, he's responsible. Now, over there in the nation of Wigwam, if that's where you are and that's what you're doing, then yes, you're responsible. But if you're not there, no, you're not responsible. But it's not Dr. Umar Johnson's fault for what he's saying. It's your fault for listening to him in the first place. And with King Sparks' money, where he at? They're trying to get me to give some money to Umar. Come on, bro. Unfortunately, I worked in budget and I worked in education. It's a 15-minute conversation, probably even 5. Where's the money and where's the school? It's a 5-minute conversation. I can get you an average person, an intern, to go in there and tell you what the problem is. People still putting money into that. And the man made the very baby mamas he's trying to tell you to go out there and go save while he's banging some more with your money. This really what we're talking about?
He ain't banging my baby.
How about some common sense? Here's some numbers for you.
Is that a hypothetical, or do you have actual proof?
No.
Man, that dude is married
Let's
to
use
2
some
women.
critical thinking. Let's use some critical thinking.
No, you always
Let me
use
in
critical thinking
Delaware.
when you can't prove it. That's your go-to, Stan. If you can't
No,
prove
here's
it, you
my
say, well, let's
proof.
just use some critical thinking.
Trey, here's my truth.
I'm asking,
Where's
do
the
you have
damn
proof?
school? Here's my proof. 10 years, no school. Problem solved. 10. $1 million.
Let's not get distracted.
Yeah,
by
let's
the
not
school,
go
man.
back to the school again. We're done with that. We're done with all that. We already had this back and forth about how long it takes to build a school. We don't need to go
We
back
talking
there
about
again.
leaders.
Just a
men
question.
being leaders.
Just let me answer the question
Yeah,
real
we're
quick.
talking
Because
about leaders. We don't need to
so
talk
I
about
would
leaders.
say it's true. I would say it's true to this effect. Because black men do who are about their game, who have made it, who do know what the struggles and obstacles are and who overcome them. Yeah, you're gonna be a leader because you have a sense of direction. You already knew where you were when you were lost. You weren't sure about everything, but you come to a point later on in life where you know what you're doing. No one can tell you nothing. We're going over here. I have a program, either you with it or not. And I think that if you're talking about a black female led household, you're talking about simp. You're talking about her leading a simp, someone who will get with her program even though she has no sense of direction. She only has her feelings, and her feelings do not point anywhere specific for too long. So she's going to drive herself crazy. She's going to drive her man crazy, and no one's going to want to deal with that for a long term. No one's going to want to really wipe that up and marry that. Even if you did, how long is that going to last? How long is that respect for you going to last? Right? Versus a leader, versus a man who has a sense of direction and doesn't believe in distraction. He has his purpose and his goal. So women are going to gravitate to a man who has a purpose and a goal rather than someone who has a rudderless ship and just acquiesces to her feelings. So yeah, I think in this context, I do believe this is true as far as underclass.
How
We're
come the
leaders
world
by
doesn't
default.
reflect anything that you said?
I'm sorry, who was the last person said what?
I said, how come when you look around it doesn't reflect it? I'm saying it doesn't reflect what you just said.
What do you mean it doesn't affect what I just said?
If you look around, it doesn't reflect. Like all men are grab a microphone and say they're leaders. All of them.
Okay, so we're not saying we're leaders as far as there are a whole bunch of people outside ready to worship us. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is we have a sense of direction. We know what we're doing and where we're going. We know who we are. Most people up on this panel is established at something. We are no longer trying to find ourselves.
Hey, listen, man, EBD, I'm a leader. I could be president of the United States. I could do a better job than some of these assholes. Hey,
Or
senator age, I could be president. I know I could.
Yeah, but senator, mayor,
maybe back
senator,
in
mayor, governor, it doesn't matter.
But
yeah,
you haven't caught up with the time.
Illuminati.
How you gonna lead a progressive nation and you stuck in the 1800s?
No, Doc. I know more shit than most of the young guys. It used to be that young guys like you would take my wisdom and just shut the fuck up.
It just became an episode of the Boondocks. Hold on.
Facts.
Does anybody else agree with the? Does anybody else agree with the question though? Or the premise of the question though? Just to get that out.
I will have to disagree.
You'd have to disagree.
Yes, because
on which part?
On the black men being the leaders of the functional class.
Yeah,
and the black women being
that was dust.
All the leaders of the underclass, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep it 100, right?
Okay.
In this country we live in, is the government, every nook and cranny, their hands are in it. They're running the house, right? They're raising your kids, they're educating your kids. They're telling your women, if he don't treat you right, we will incentivize you, we will take care of you. If he touches you, we will come in and dismantle him, right? So the leader is the government in so many ways. Nobody really wants to say it because we want to keep that pride about ourselves. And typically, by nature, we are leaders, right? We want to be that dude. But we know that when you enter a relationship with a woman, right, the negotiation table is she's coming with her standards. It's just not, it ain't get with my program or else. Like you ain't finna tell her that, I don't want to be monogamous, because then she you out the door, right? They want you to be a certain standard lifestyle for them. They're coming with their fucking standards. And we have to acquiesce to that if we want a conducively, potentially successful.
You do. Wrong.
Everything you
wait. I think I understand what he's saying, but I understand why everybody disagrees too. But I will extrapolate this point from what he's saying.
Yeah.
What he's saying is that rather than a woman, because it's a woman's choice, I think a woman has chosen between the two men, daddy government or daddy black man. Right. Daddy black man is a leader and is about his
unconsciously.
Right, subconsciously, right. Is this black man worth or can provide what daddy government can? And I think she chooses daddy government each and every time.
She chooses herself.
Yeah.
Right. But what Ruthless was saying is the government,
family or herself.
Right. It's a selfish choice for her to make on behalf of herself and her children and her family. But I think what he's saying is like instead of black men being the leaders that we are, but what the choice is on her, whether she can leave all of the benefits
followers
of that.
Pick the leaders. The leaders don't pick the
EBD, who's next on this question? Who's next on the question?
Anyone who's on it.
To black people. That's not exclusive to black people. That's the laws for everybody in this country.
My point.
Yeah.
It's still a choice on the woman, though, rather than the man. The man's going to stay on his purpose.
To land the plane, right? All I'm saying is this.
That was dust.
All I'm saying is at the end of the day, right? We're at this space. We're in these spaces because we're here complaining because our women are not being submissive.
Don't say we.
They're not being the women we want them to be for the success of the relationship. are the marriage, right? They're falling short of their end of the bargain.
Hey, Ruthless, it only needs to be
Are
one
you saying
woman.
in general?
It only needs to
Like
be
you saying in
one
general?
woman who agrees with what you're saying. It doesn't have to be all women. It's just a woman you choose
No, I'm just saying it's right.
to do what you need her to do.
But our pain,
Well, it's the woman that chooses you.
We're here because the numbers are all against us, right? We're losing.
Yeah, but you don't need the whole numbers to be for you. You just need to be able to cherry pick the one you want.
But the women
Rufus, the numbers been against you your entire life. You black. You still made it out.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
Good points, right?
And you still can find the one you want if you
But these numbers is crazy, man. This the internet.
You right, Kurt.
The women, these women, the internet. The numbers that these women think they got.
Yeah.
Hey, who's next on the question? I don't have to go next. Who's next on the question?
Go ahead.
Is
anyone on it? Anybody? Mr. Ikene, I know you got something to say.
I have something.
Us men, we didn't say anything for many years, right? When Kevin Samuels them came, right? We now have a voice to say, hey, this is what we're saying and this is where we stand. And the women are not even saying, hey, you know what, you're right. They're giving us pushback and saying, you know what, 6 figures, 6 this, 6 that are L's. That's what they're coming with. And they're not playing about it.
That's a YouTube thing. That's not a real thing.
That's a real thing.
Go ahead, Mr. Ikene. What were you gonna say?
I gotta say this.
I go out on dates.
Point Mafia is leading the
I go out on
community.
dates often, and I've never had a woman ask me how much money I make. I've rarely had women just assume. Women assume I'm over 6 feet, and I'm not. I'm 5'11". This is a
Trey, nobody asked you how big your Johnson is.
It's not a real thing.
Hey Trey, nobody asked you how big your Johnson is.
He's right.
He's
right.
You're right. Okay. I'm getting this. You're right.
It's a real thing.
Not like
but
this.
what they're going to do is say, what they do, they get with you, they're going to figure out how much you make. And then if you do not reach their standard, eventually they're going to get rid of your ass. That's how it goes.
A woman knows how.
I gotta say this, right? Right? Most men operate in inferiority complex, no matter their height and status. Most men, I didn't say all men, so that you guys don't misquote me. Most women will go online and tell you that they want 6 feet 6 inches, 6 all this. It's not true, just like Trey said. Women are always going to settle for what is available. Any day, anytime. The reason why most women are staying single today is not because of they can't find a man that they can't settle for. It's because most of them are disqualified for many reasons. And the men that they want don't want them. That's one of the biggest reasons. But another reason why women are also in the category that they are, which is instead of her to be with a man that is going to take good care of her, but she has to be under the man's program, she won't do it because somebody like Scam will reward her. Never going to marry her, but will always go to her and make her feel that, hey, if he's not going to be with you, I'm going to come take care of you. You see what I'm saying? So what I mean in that nature is that men are the reason why women are single. Men are the reason why a lot of women are where they are. Because when a man is trying to punish a woman for misbehavior, another man undermines that man. You see what I'm saying? So you always
have a choice.
No, but check what I'm doing. You gotta understand, women don't think like men. They don't have the same mindset like men. You are a man of logic. She's a woman of emotions. And a lot of men guess what? You might call it that, but I'm not going to say that. But look at where I'm going to. You look at where I'm going to. Men are far smarter than women. Any day, anytime. Women don't want to acknowledge that. That is why a man wants to punish her for bad behavior. Another man undermines that man by going
Yeah.
straight to her. Just like if you guys go to church, right? Just like God told Eve and Adam, not only Adam, he told Eve and Adam not to eat the apple, right? And Adam stayed all this long without eating the apple. And the devil knew he was never going to get Adam to flinch because Adam will not change his mind. He's rigid, right? That's why women call you rigid because you are Adam. What did the devil do? He went straight to Eve. That's what people like Scam will do. Scam will go to a woman and reward her for bad behavior
But are they
instead of
stupid?
No, Curry, you want to
Trey, we're gonna put some of your shoes. Be 6 foot, dog.
Yeah,
I think you know what we're talking about Genesis, and we're talking about in 2023. But what we're talking about is a woman's first act of non-submission, right? Non-obedience, right? She did what she wanted to do. She did what she felt like, rather than Adam, what he did. What he knew not to do something. And I think the reason why she's acceptable is because the devil applied feelings to her rather than logic. I think that's the difference.
Hey, one Curtis, you got something to say? Go ahead, man. You haven't said
We
anything.
all got a choice, man. As us as leaders, as the men as leaders, we take our responsibility as leaders. But as the role of a follower, women don't want to be following, submissive, subordinate, nothing. All the excuses like Enike or Dr. Umar is giving them, as far as it's this or it's that, other men coming in. If you can say that they stupid, we might, you know what I'm saying, take some of that responsibility as leaders and step in. But if they're not stupid and they got a choice and they competent, then that's on them. Everybody got a choice. It's a choice you make.
Yeah, I got a question. It's for Ike.
Go ahead.
How you got a clothing line and got a tight ass shirt? How it tight around the arm? Ain't iron. You got a clothing line. Matter of fact, let me take your blood pressure on that blood pressure. Veins sticking out.
They trying to set up.
So Curtis, what I'll say to the following thing, what I tell to the following in the submission thing, they choose every day to submit to their white daddy boss at work in order to get that money or to get that promotion, or they know how to talk, they know how to provide customer service when it comes to the money, the tangible thing, the thing that empowers them, right? They just don't think that they can find that empowerment in their men, which in every other tribe, that's how it works.
Well, it's because they was not. Most of our women were not raised to want a man. They're being raised.
You know what's funny about
what's
this
best
though?
for themselves. We're teaching them what. Hey, do what's best for you. Go whatever you want to do. Go follow what you want to do. We setting them free at 18. With freedom comes responsibility.
But women teach them that. We don't teach them that.
No, we do too. As fathers, I don't want to use the word step, but a lot of fathers, when you look back at your daughter, now you thinking in the ideology, like the ideology of a woman, and you want what's best for your daughter as a woman. So it's like, hey, yeah, go to college. You don't need a man. You know what I'm saying? Take care of yourself, you know? And that's not the way we're supposed to be teaching them. We're still supposed to teach them,
I agree.
Raising them to be wise, not raising them to be on their own, take care of themselves. If you raise somebody to be by themselves, they'll be by themselves.
Yeah.
I think that we all as men, we grew up in feminism, right? There's a whole bunch of male feminists out here, and us growing up as smaller childs, we were raised in that feminist system and that feminist ideology. That's where it comes from.
Hey, Curtis, let me be honest with you though. As a father of a daughter, I look at some of these dudes and I'm like, nah.
It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it.
Listen. That's not most black men. You're teaching your daughter how to be prepared for not most black men. You're teaching them how to be prepared for the worst black men. And when they come across the worst, they'll do good with the worst. But when they come across the best, they wasn't preparing to be with the best man. You prepared them for the worst man, so they won't have a chance.
I disagree with that. I think if you reflect,
let JT go ahead.
What's JT gonna say?
For all men, for all of them, the worst and the best.
Hey, JT, go ahead, man.
Have you ever been?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that. I think that she'll know by watching the reflection of her mother and father together. So I think she'll
And
know how
Janelle, you up next, man.
to be with the I think she'll know how to be with a good man when she comes across one. But I don't know if we still on the same question or not, but or the same statement, yeah, question or not, but um I would say that yeah, black men are the leaders of the functioning black community. It's a lot of good men, black men and women who are raising nice, productive citizens of the society. A lot of black men who are raising kids who go to college or are off in trades. It's I think the stats show that when the father is in the home, the predicament of black people are better. But to what y'all were saying, what y'all were just talking about, did y'all catch the part? And this is what we were just talking about. Did y'all catch the part where uh Dr. Umar was saying that some black women will have to date men that were in different countries in Africa and stuff like that? And he was telling them that they were gonna have to change how they acted when they dated the black men in Africa, but it was pretty much insinuating that the black men in America have to tolerate what they have, but when they talk to the black men in Africa, they have to change it up. And that's what he was insinuating with it.
Yeah,
So how
I
did y'all
saw
feel
that.
about
Yeah, I
that?
seen that.
Let me respond to what
Wait a
JT
minute.
just said
Let me
real
go
quick.
so I can let Trey
Let
back
me,
up real quick.
if you guys can let me respond to what JT just said real quick. I'm gonna just for 30 seconds. JT is 100% correct. Dr. Umar was 100% correct. I'll tell you guys that. I have literally seen black women in this country that when they were dealing with black guys, man, she was like, disrespectful and stuff. And when she dealt with an African guy, she was more submissive than African woman. That is why you see black Africans do marry black American women because they are even more submissive to our women. But then when they're dealing with you guys, they are very stubborn. And this is what I got to tell you. It's because you guys let them get away with a lot. You
That's
guys
right.
are so soft to your women. And
Yeah.
my wife is
It's
African
true.
American.
It's
My
true.
wife is African American. I got to tell you, she's far lower than Nigerian women to me. You guys, but she is very disrespectful to her parents and her brothers, but not me. Hell no, I'm not taking that shit, man.
All right.
She got
Hey,
Let me
Mike,
add to
before
that.
you go, Mike, let
Hold on.
Janelle say something on this question. He ain't
Well,
talking a while.
well, Mike, I thought were you about to read something real quick?
No, I was about to give my spiel. Are you
Oh,
African,
I was
Janelle?
about to troll a Kenny, but
Oh,
I was
No,
about
let
to
me
troll
get
a
my
Kenny.
African. Let
no,
me
no,
get my
no, no,
African
no,
note in there. I'm gonna let
no,
Trey
no.
back up and you can go. But no, I think Dr. Umar was saying that the African men won't tolerate that type of
Yeah, they
Yeah,
won't.
not that
that's why I was asking what
I
y'all thought
don't
about
think
that.
I heard him say that they should continue talking to black American men this way
He
because
insinuated it, Mike. He
oh, okay,
insinuated it.
okay.
It was more of an insinuation. Yeah, that's what I was
Okay,
saying.
got you. But yeah, all I heard was that the black woman, I mean, African men will not tolerate the way y'all talk and the way y'all behave. I would liken it to this: if 70% of black men alive today were raised by a single mother, the reason why they allow so much of that talk and disrespect is because they think it's normal.
Yeah, their
They've
mom, their
literally
mother
been
did to them.
they've been around it their whole life. They watch their mother talk to their father and every other man like that disrespectfully, so they think that behavior is normal. So just like Ekin, they said, I'm married to a black American woman, and I can tell for her, my wife is not a neck roller. I'm not even attracting neck rollers. She's a very pleasant, very decent, extremely soft, feminine woman. But growing up with her mother and father were not married, so she took the example from her grandparents, from her aunts and uncles. She used to say stuff. That's why I said it on the show. Y'all remember I said intercultural dating is just as daunting as interracial dating, because she had said something when we were dating like, well, I'm going to blank. And I literally, just the African in me came out. I said, you are not doing anything. And she is, you could tell she never heard. I said, I'm going to dictate what happened. And she just stood in silence, was like, did this nigga just tell me I get no say so? But I didn't want to let her go on and think that a marriage to me was going to be where she just dictates what happens with our kids and where they do blank and where we live. I was like, what? And I think she had gotten excited because too many other Black women believe they can dictate terms, and it's something they do very masterfully. They want the experience of making decisions like men make without any of the accountability. Because I'm not stupid enough to let me be blamed for something and I don't have the ultimate say. Ladies, if you're listening, this is why men are in charge. I always get the blame, so I get the final say. That is why we get the final say. No matter what she does, I'm gonna get the blame. That's the way I put it to her. And she's like, you have to be married and go through the motions, because she don't bother me about none of that stuff I used to say. She can see it through the 5 years we're married, that damn, he do get a brunt of all the, he do take all, the society look at him like he the one who screwed up. If we lose our house,
Your
who they blame?
parents.
Exactly. If we lose our house, who they gonna blame? Even though we both work.
The man.
You're
They're
right.
gonna be like, what you had going on, man?
I started telling her stuff like this. I said, so when it comes to concrete things, of course, we are going to dialogue with each other. I love you. You're my wife. You're smart. You got a valued opinion. But I said, I always get the final say. And she had never heard nothing like that in her life, because the society is going to blame me. And there is no woman that can take the pressure of being the disappointment to the family while her man is present. She will literally fall apart from that shit. But I just wanted to drop that on you. I'm about to let Trey back up.
I got a question for you.
How about that?
Because I know you're probably listening to the background. And we always talk about Black men, we these leaders. And you know tenets of leadership. We're talking about confidence, direction, guidance, discipline, influence, critical thinking. But why is it when the mic went around here and around to the bottom to Ken A's tight ass shirt and then back around, got stuck in his shirt for about 5 minutes, had to pull it out. But anyway, all I hear is the government, the women won't listen, disrespectful. That's not leadership, my friend. The feminism grew up in the single moms. That means something ain't leading. Something disconnected. Because leadership, usually people are nodding their head, they're taking notes, they're listening. Something wrong. Or is it me? Is it his shirt? I mean, what is it?
It's you. It's you.
It's you. It ain't his shirt.
It's you.
No, so I'll say this. I'll say this. If a follower is supposed to do their part, they're supposed to pick a suitable role model to follow. And if Black women see an entire tribe of their own men as unsuitable to follow, to listen to respect, to admire, to
For
value,
whatever reason.
For whatever reason or no reason at all, there is something wrong. It ain't us.
EBD.
I got a question.
Before everybody goes, can you let Janelle say something? It's Janelle.
Janelle.
Go ahead, man.
Hey, can we hear from the Ken A shirt first?
He got on a red tank top. Back and they fight back.
Just say you came from the mountain. Let
me put it this way. Okay. Let me put it this way. No, they called my name. They asked me question. That's
Talk about your shirt. He ain't saying nothing else. Let my man talk, man.
Hold on. Before y'all, first of all, don't do my man like this. He trying with the shirt. Stop.
Shirt's trying harder than he is, but go ahead.
But I actually want to go back to what Curtis was saying. I think what he was trying to say was like, I think it basically goes back to you are what you eat. So it's basically like if you keep choosing the most shittiest girls of all time, that's probably goes back to you. Like a lot of these people want to keep saying it's the men. But it's like if I get cheated on again and again and again and again, I'm like, man, these females like, nah, it's probably me. You know what I mean? So it's not like they stupid. A lot of people are smarter than what you think. Like in history, a lot of the best spies in history were women because people don't expect shit from them. You know what I mean? So it's just like they're not dumb. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and they also, I think it's how you say Kasim,
yeah.
Let's see, because you were talking earlier, you guys talking about culture, and I was thinking like, well, if you think of most things on culture, either music or even the movies, it's always like the Black dude's trying to make out the hood because his mom was by herself, or like somebody trying to dance out the hood. You know what I mean? Like, somebody's always trying to make it out of bad situations. Even like in movies and stuff like that, the black dude, like even Tyler Perry movies. I like Tyler Perry, but a lot of his movies, like the dark skinned black dude cheats on the girl, light skinned black dude comes in and saves the day. So, so it's just like in most of our culture, black girls are going to treat you the way they treat you because it's kind of promoted like black men are just children all the time.
And some of those movies, up and coming black men normally get shot or killed.
They get shot
like
or
Boys
killed.
to Men. I mean, Boys to Hood. You know, there's a couple other movies where the guy was about to make it out, he ended up getting killed.
Look at Stomp the Yard. First 5-10 minutes, Chris Brown gets shot up.
Menace to Society.
Really? Boys in the Hood?
Yeah, sorry.
Furious was
You
a
know what I
man
mean?
and John Singleton was a men created that. Really?
But that's a reflection of the society of what they were trying to implement.
During that
Which
time.
in some parts, if you're not vast enough, you might not know.
But it's always like
Right.
the black
Single
man
moms
always
killed
has
the
to be
children, took
saved.
all the men. You're right. It was a single
But it's
mom.
like
with
it just goes back to like the black man though always has to be saved or is always in trouble, is always the problem. Even like my girl, my wife's from the Philippines. So
Passport, bro.
No. She was here before I got. Don't do that. No, she came up to me and she was asking me because, like you said about culture, like she's from the Philippines. They don't play that shit, especially with the men. They don't play that shit. Like I know certain countries don't play that shit. So she asked me. She was like, "How come, you guys would be able to build more if you guys work together?" I'm like, "Babe, like growing up, I'm 31. So
Yeah.
growing up for me, it's like I ain't gonna help you unless you're a homie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people don't help you unless you banging like them, unless you cool like them. If you're not, then you just another competition.
Listen, let
So
me
that's what I think we can't build.
let me say this about Philip because I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Okay, so I had my first crushes were Filipino girls. Okay, so there is something interesting that a Filipino girl told me. What was her name? Hope or something like that. When I was a little older, I got in the car going back to the hood trying to stunt, and one of the things that I like about other cultures is that they put things into perspective in a way we don't do here in America. They said to me about the single motherhood crisis in the black, because she was like, "How's the new school?" My parents had moved to freaking P-town, and it was a culture shock for me because they black as hell out there. Okay, and I was like, man, there's so many damn pregnant girls in this high school. I don't even know what's going on. I was like, I started telling her about it. She's like, wow. And one of the things that she said was the way we blame men for some of the behaviors of women as if an effect has no cause, right? There's no way they believe that it's all the fault of men that these girls just end up with poked out bellies all the time. If you hit a critical mass to a certain level, it's literally just what the woman wants. Because that's why you have multiple you got women who claim they want the best men, but got a baby by a dude with 5 or 6 other baby mothers. So it's like we're trying to blame men when these literally women are making unilateral decisions to procreate with men of no value. And it's always the immigrant women that see that. They don't even talk when it comes to matters of your womb. They don't even talk to men. They talk to the women like, what are you doing? Your most valuable asset that you can use to get married and secure a better life for yourself, you just gave it away to the worst dude. But in America, we like to blame that on all men. That's why the problem isn't fixed.
That starts in school.
In those cultures, they will shame the shit out of those women.
Yep.
They'll be like, what are you doing? He can only do what you let him do. This is your body, your temple.
If you walk up and down the street, you're a mark because he's like, oh, she nasty.
This chick is nasty. This chick is loose.
Yeah.
So that's why the problem isn't fixed here. And I forgot what I wanted to say anyway. But let's get final thoughts in here. I got to finish up this presentation. We'll start with you, Payne.
All right, you saw me. All right, listen. I mean, this was a good panel. I think we didn't solve anything, but if we're talking about Umar Johnson, he has his purpose, and I think that it's just a little bit of tweaks. He could have been so much more impactful, than he is. I think he took advantage of those brothers. Matter of fact, those brothers are cool, man. I think they're gonna grow into a big, good YouTubers. That show, because I watch a lot of those guys.
Wrap Up Crew,
You
yep.
know,
Shout out to
and
them.
they're cool. So I think they're on their way to be great. The problem is that they weren't ready for him. That's why Umar Johnson won't get on with a guy like Anton Daniels or somebody who's a little bit more seasoned, who could. Even me, I'm not a big YouTuber, but I wish I would have had a shot at his ass when he said all that kind of stuff.
Pause,
Because I'm
pause.
older than him, and when he said that all that bullshit, I would have been right on him. He would have been yelling at me. I would have been yelling back at him, and he would have tried to pull that bully shit on me because I'm not a big YouTuber, but I would have hit him straight on, and the shit would have been copied. I would have
Pause
done it again.
Pause.
Huh?
You killing it,
Shot
bro.
in the ass, hit him straight on.
No, that's
All right,
shot.
babe, we done with you
Shot.
for today.
Move
But
on,
anyway,
next
you know,
person.
Woo!
but anyway,
Boy.
so listen, all I'm just trying to say is that was a good thing. This is a good panel, and you know, let's keep it going, Mike.
Bet. Curtis, final thoughts, man.
I agree with Payne, man. He just shot jocking for women. Trying to boost them ratings up, keep them dollars coming.
Yeah.
It's hurting us all, but I mean, you always gonna have men out there like that that's gonna do that. That's never gonna end. Like it is what it is. We just got to keep fighting the good fight. Keep having the conversations like this. Keep having the panels like this, where, like I said, the nigger, the middle class, and the higher class, so we can, come together on common ground, figure out what we can do as a community. Until we can do that, we're just gonna be where we at right now. Because it's not just like it's women of all those three sectors. They just so happen to be dating more majority of a certain man. But until we can all three get on one accord, we're gonna be where we at right now.
Indeed. Damn, we got somebody. Hold on. So we got somebody from the Philippines watching. Talk about baby mama culture is alive in the Philippines. I actually want to say something to this. Because a lot of people get on these spaces and they'll be like, well, Nigeria has this or Nigeria has that. There is actually a very important note to make about this. America has a lot going for itself, in where that's why everybody's trying to get here to escape whatever it is that's happening into their country. Whatever injustices they're suffering, they leave that. But there are more the people that come over here with the principles and values and religious systems, and they come here with that, they are very dangerous. They're literally about to. That's why they reach so high. That's why they achieve so much, because you have to understand there's a lot of poverty in those areas. And we already know, just the way we see it in the black community and the white trash community, what poverty does to people, what it can do to people in those circles. So yes, they experience more levels of poverty than, most in this country, especially. So, if the ones that have their head on straight, that want a good education, come over here with that struggle mentality, where it's like, I'm never doing that again, I'm going to make a way for myself, then they become dangerous and productive in these. So nobody's out here trying to say these immigrant countries are perfect. They're actually worse. They're actually worse off. But the people that come here with embedded with religion, culture, values, and good societal norms, they're going to do damage in America, as you could clearly see. Right? The Indian people, they stop talking about Africa if you've never been to India. I've been there. That shit is
horrible,
and it's massive. They got 1 billion people, so that shit is crazy. But they come over here with those values, and they're they're like number 1 or 2, second highest earner. All right. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Go ahead, Black Dragon.
All right, I'll keep it just short, like I do. Just to follow up what Curtis was saying, I think that if Dr. Umar and anyone else on YouTube who's an influencer who wants to improve the Black community, one of the things I would recommend is that you talk to Black women and tell them and teach them how to be wives, and teach them about femininity and how
we're the wives school.
Pretty much, but more than that, what we have to teach is basically all of the trash behavior, all of the things that you follow. We never told Black men never led you to long nails or the weave or the makeup. We didn't tell you to do any of these things. So who did you follow? Number one. Number two, if you had followed us, you'd be in a much better place. And number three,
if we're the ones who are accountable for what we ain't doing or what we are doing, and we have to consistently do better, where are you at? You know, you have to fess up and call a thing and get better at something, rather than hang on to this pride, this ego of I don't need, and you can't tell me, and this and that, because that's not working. How's that working for you now? You're not going to have no man that's going to respect you or marry you or take you seriously with that. So how we going to fix it is we're going to have a better set of standards for ourselves about what kind of woman we going to deal with. And if you can't change and lead that behavior, because what we're asking you to do is absolutely free, it doesn't cost you anything, but it can gain you everything. And that's something that all these influencers need to spread on YouTube a little bit more often. Mr. Ikene, Mike, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm going early today. That's what's up. Let me put it this way, right? If we, like Mr. Payne said, if he was to host Dr. Umar, or if Antoine was to host Dr. Umar, that they're going to go hard on him and this and that, you're never going to achieve anything doing that. The best way to get information out of somebody and change the society is dialogue and discussion. You have a seat, an open seat on YouTube with that guy. You come up with your points, and you guys have a serious conversation, serious discussion that will bring the best out of him and bring the best out of you. If you go up there and yell at each other, you're going to bring out the worst. And guess one thing that goes on in the YouTube space? That clip will remain for a long time. And children are supposed to come there when they become adults to get inspiration. They're not going to get that inspiration. So that is why, even on these sets right here, I'd like us to discuss instead of yell. Because children will come, they will get inspiration by the things that fathers like us say. The greatest inspiration to me is my father. Just imagine if my father was yelling with somebody during conversation. I'm not going to learn anything. I'm not going to learn nothing. So that is why I always employ us to discuss, to have that conversation. No matter your stance, no matter your belief, no matter your argument, no matter your point, let's have discussion on that point, argument, and belief. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you and I anymore. It's not even about the millennials anymore. It's about the younger Gen X or Gen Zs. Because the older Gen Zs have messed up. Anybody 18 years and above today in America cannot really be fixed. It's the ones much younger. We have to rescue those ones. But you can't rescue them if you have a bad mother, bad aunt, bad father at home. Because they still got to go home to those people. So we preach to them, but try to change hearts and minds of the grown folks. Let the grown folks understand that whatever they think that happened to them when they were little kids, that they didn't get all they want, because most of these cases have to do with what I didn't get what I wanted as a little child. So let me do whatever I want. You see what I'm saying? So we have to address that and redress it, so that way we can get better fathers that can produce better children, better mothers that can produce better children. Because if the mother and the father ain't right, the kids are never going to be right.
My bad. Janelle.
Oh shit. Well, I'd like to first appreciate being on here, and I would like to ask to raise money for Trey so he can hit a good 6'1".
What, with a leg lengthening surgery? What is that?
I mean, we could try to put some in his shoes, make him a little taller, make him feel good. Feel 6'1", 6'2".
I'm gonna crack jokes on him. If I ever see that, what is he supposed to wear?
Oh,
Skechers?
shit.
Those Skechers that are 3 inches?
The hill ups.
All right.
Oh shit, no, but no, I agree. I think it all, like I said, it starts with home. It starts with you. You know what I mean? Like I said, you can't expect your partner to have all these qualities and you can't either, or you don't either. because then she can't complete you and you can't complete her. You know what I mean? So you gotta learn to start with yourself. And I think with because of the culture, a friend of mine told me 10 years ago, it kept rolls in my mind to this day. He was like, we went from as people, we went from kings and queens to brothers and sisters to niggas and bitches. That's really where we are right now, and that's how we treat each other. Yeah, I said it.
Nah, it's just what's being displayed. That's what's being displayed, but it's not who we
That's what's
are.
being displayed. That's not who we are, but it's kind of
Yeah,
like that's just how it comes off.
the niggas and bitches
Yeah,
the rain right now, but that's not who
you
we
feel
are
me?
as a
But
whole.
and that's not who we are as people, but it's kind of how we just address each other, how we talk to each other, how we see each other, and we shouldn't. You know what I mean? And
No,
I think it's
not
just
all,
like,
but
but some, let's put some, but it's just like at the end of the day, like I said, it starts with us. Um, you can't fix some, you can't help people that doesn't want to get help. You can't fix those who don't want to get fixed. And just with Umar, it's just like for me, it's just I don't need somebody to try to tell me my blackness because he's telling me I should be doing X, Y, and Z, but because if I don't do X, Y, and Z, you're not black or you're not good enough for black women or whatever, whoever in your life. Some people, you know what I mean? Like everybody makes mistakes, everybody does their own thing, everybody has to fix themselves. And the fact that you want to come on and say to other people, it's your fault that somebody does this. If I blame everybody in the world for my mistakes, then I wouldn't grow and learn. So you got to grow and learn from your own personal problems and become better as a person so you don't take it out on the next person because that's where the generational curse keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. So he can't tell people it's your fault black women are this way because I didn't make that happen. You didn't make that happen, so it's not your fault, and vice versa. So he can't tell you what makes a black man. Only you can define what makes a black man. What makes a man in your life and in your house and in your relationship. So
All right.
Yeah, can I go next?
Speaking a shirt.
did you change it?
I am at
he
a
got a
point.
red shirt.
I cannot breathe. I'm really not from Africa. I just talk like this, but I cannot breathe because this shirt is too tight for me to breathe. In Africa, we don't have a lot of materials, so I make shirts of bamboo and Kool-Aid and had to put it on before YouTube.
This
So
your
I
final thoughts,
quote
man.
the YouTube talking points of America. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Illuminati wins every time.
The troll of the year award, man. God dang it, man.
Absolute freaking troll.
Okay.
I'm
Go
calling
ahead,
Dust.
Go ahead, JT.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
gotta know that what I said to you really got him personally, but that's okay.
At least he got the message.
yeah, Dr. Umar, I I think he's coming in good faith, but he's coming with a save everybody mindset, and I don't think it's quite registering with him that that's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Even if all the people that were on the edge wanted to change, there's a lot of people who are not willing to give up the degeneracy that they have. So I would say black men, be better men, stand on your principle and your morals, learn how to choose better women. Uh, and for all the good and great black men out there, don't let somebody like Umar make you feel like it's your fault because of what the guys that were born before you or the guys next to you that have nothing in common with you have done to the community. Find you a woman who's a great woman because there's still a lot of them out there. And if she makes you feel like you have to fix her or because of what other guys have done that is now on you, then that's not the woman for you. You need to pack your bags and move along. And I would tell the same thing for the women. There's still a lot of good black men out here. Um, vet these black men better because at the end of the day, most black men just want to have a night with you and they gone. So learn how to recognize the signs and what guys are there with, in good faith and what guys aren't. And for the guys that aren't in good faith, leave them alone and move on to the next one. The quicker we all can learn how to do that, the quicker we all can find the person that we are right for, and the community is going to have to get better over time. But it's a lot of people that aren't going to be saved. There's a lot of people that aren't even worth saving. So I don't feel like this is something that we will see in our lifetime. We might start to see it get better toward our later years, but if we stand on those principles, it'll be repaired, just not in our generation, maybe our grandkids. But we gotta stick to those principles, and we gotta stick to what we know worked in the past, because the map was laid out for us. The plans are all there, the instructions are all there. We just somehow seem to have steered away from it. So we got to get back on track.
All right. Yeah, I think you spoke some real facts. I think that's the inevitability that I see more and more people coming to grips with. I think you have to really. So one of the reasons I like YouTube and I like this space so much is because I didn't know any of this was going on. I didn't know people were up here talking about the issues or none of that. I didn't know this till about this time last year, and it was really like Kevin Samuels and Fresh and Fit that really put things into perspective for me. And I don't mean what they're saying. No. I enjoy platforms that let women talk. Ask them questions and let them talk. And once I started hearing the things that were coming out of women's mouth, it confirmed to me that this generation, millennials, Generation Z, is completely hopeless. They're gone. We lost them.
Nah.
We lost their ass, bro. Just don't. I don't need to make any
A
assumption.
very great portion of it.
They are gone. Just listen to what they're saying out of their own mouths, not any assumptions that we're making about them. What they're saying out of their own mouths is crazy. So, yeah. Hopefully, the grandchildren, the small children. I know I'm being super passionate and intense about the way my children are raised. I'm making sure that they're not spending too much. They don't even watch TV per se. They literally just watch YouTube Kids. I got them doing sight word puzzles on the damn tablet. Like, they are not going out like millennials and Gen Z did, because this shit is deplorable behavior. But Kasim, final thoughts, bro.
When it comes to, Umar, I really believe that he basically wants a community type of outcome from the men based upon the value systems of the women, right? And in order for us to have a community, we have to have both value systems heard, one value system negotiated, that value system is bought in by everyone, and we hold each other accountable for the outcome of that. I believe that is the thing that's needed in the community if we are to get better, because we're not really fighting against each other. We're just fighting against two different value systems, right? We have a particular value system that we want to impart. They have a particular value system that they want to impart, and it's adversarial to one another. So until we can come together as one at the table and sift through what we want, agree upon it, and then make it move forward, then I think that needs to happen before we can make any kind of change.
Fantasy Island Girl says, hold on. Millennials are fine. Change your worldview. Take out the baby boomers. 1 in 10 black women are married. We're not doing fine.
At all.
1 in 10. A third world country that doesn't have food to eat has better marriage rates than black women in America. Don't give me that shit, Fantasy.
Trigger Mike.
Yeah.
Put it this way: if you combine the divorced, the single, right, without the widower, right,
Yep.
they are 90. They are 76.5.
Yep. Let me get Zero Tolerance in here. She's been trolling. All right. Guess what, Zero Tolerance? I've heard this. Marriage doesn't benefit women. Well, let's see what singleness does for a woman after the age of 50. I can't wait to show you. what singleness does to your ass. If you think marriage doesn't benefit women, let me actually amend this statement. Marriage doesn't benefit lazy women. That will always be true.
Yeah.
They
If you're a
all sure
woman
do
that
want to
doesn't
be
want to
married
do
though.
any work, if you're a woman that doesn't want to serve, if you are the type that attracts a man who himself doesn't want to serve, yes, marriage won't benefit you. But this has never been an institution that just anybody can uphold. Just say you're lazy. Just say you don't want to work and you want to be a kept woman and taken care of, and wait till you're 99.9 years old for a dude that might want to do that for you.
Or
But
you just want to ride the cock carousel.
you
They
just
just
want to
don't
ride a
want to
bunch
be.
of dick. Exactly.
They don't want to be in relationships, and that's what they're not saying. Not until they're older.
No,
You feel what I'm
hold on,
saying?
Curtis. This is the thing too. They want to be paid to be in a relationship, bro.
Yeah.
Man,
They want to
They
be
that,
want
paid
that
to
to
mean
be
they
in a
don't.
negotiate
That
like
mean
a
they don't want to
contract.
do it. It's
Exactly.
not what they want to do. Like because of the the internet and the way
I don't
moving
really
now.
like to say it like this all the time because sometimes I think I cut a little too deep. But the modern American woman is the laziest woman that has ever fucking lived. And
Yep, they got
wait,
washing
hold
machines,
on.
You set
dishwashers,
With,
the
all kind
standard
of shit.
with
before
the
us.
highest standards for men ever. Like if it was
Chicken
really, if
sounds
I
like
didn't find my
prostitution
wife,
to me.
I'd have been done. If I was single right now, I would be the king of the passport brothers. It'd be passport Mike. Fuck Trigger Mike. It'd
Do
be
you think
passport
they
35
Mike.
have?
years in, I don't envy no man today. My wife is on a pedestal higher than I ever thought, man, because of all the shit that's going on today. I'm so happy I met her in 87 and took her off the market. I'm happy as hell, man.
Yeah, you
I'm
gotta
telling
find them
you,
young.
yeah.
I
Would
got
see
2
me
women,
here
and
with
Trey,
I
don't
would
do
be
it.
live streaming from Thailand or Colombia. Talking about, hey, y'all gotta get me with it because I ain't there. Look, if
Hang on, Rich, you wasn't single during the 90s?
No, I got
No.
married in 87.
No,
I feel
ain't no free
sorry
pick.
for you. I feel sorry
No.
for you. I heard some wild things about the 90s.
No,
This ain't
man.
no free pick.
Listen,
No.
Do you
hey,
do
Trey,
you
we
think
waiting for
they're
you, man. We got. If I had sparkles, I would light them up so we can hear what you have to say to close out the show.
hey Trigger Mike?
No, look, I don't really have anything crazy to say. I'm just gonna echo what I said earlier. Listen, as a man, you have a choice, and if your choice is that you don't date single mothers, I don't have an issue with that at all, and I completely understand your choice and why you don't date single mothers. But if you are a man that does date single mothers and you can get that submission from a single mother, I'm here to tell you that the son of that single mother will be forever grateful. I can tell you that. As a man, I can tell you that he is forever grateful for you stepping in because you don't have to do it. You're not required to do it. It's not your responsibility. Those are not your kids. You don't have to do it. So for you to step in and give your wisdom, and your love, and your protection, your provision, when you weren't asked to do it, I can just tell you as a child of a single mother, I'm grateful. I honest, and I mean that seriously. I'm not trying to be sentimental. I don't know where I would be if it were not for the men that came through my life. Even with the stock market, even with me investing in Tesla's IPO and Visa's IPO, I was a black man that stepped into my life when I was 19 years old when I was in Iraq. They came over to me and sat me down and said, hey, young fella, let me teach you how to invest in stocks. I had no idea how to do it. So I am always grateful to men who step outside of their responsibilities and the things that, and they don't have to do it. I'm grateful to them.
You a rare cause.
And the other part of this is that's one of the reasons why every Monday for the past 6 years, I help mentor a group of black boys from the age of 10 to 18 on stock market. I teach them what I was taught, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's the right thing for me to do, is to give back, because a lot of these black men that came along, that's why I get a little irritated when I hear this bad rap about black men, because I'm like, nah, the black men that were in my life, they didn't have to do any of it. You don't have to take me home from practice. You know what I mean? Yep. No, I'm gonna be real with you. Some of them was probably trying to get at my mom's. She was a red bone.
Oh so yeah, your mom's had ass.
As I grew up, I understood that concept, right? But they still didn't have to do it. You didn't have to take me to, the basketball practices. You didn't have to take me to school. You didn't have to do any of those things. And I'm just grateful for it, and I can appreciate it. But I do understand when men say, nah, I don't want that life. I respect it as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, Trey. Go ahead, JT.
I was just gonna say, teach me the stock market. I want to know.
That boy said the stock market. I heard that.
I said stock market. He
said the stock market.
You gotta teach him how to say it, bro.
Hey, but let me tell you, when those statistics came out, even the one that just came out, CNN put something out on Father's Day saying black men spend the most time with their kids, they change the most diapers, some all that type of stuff. Dog, you didn't have to tell me that was true. From very young, I've known that the black. In fact, look at it this way. Look at it this way. I want to make a real quick statement. One of the reasons Africans are so obsessed with America is actually because of black Americans. Every group of people that was here, like in the 80s, like when my parents came here, the Cosbys was their favorite TV show. They understood the promise of that, like black doctor, black father, lawyer, mother. They were all African people were that's their favorite freaking show because it was people that looked like them doing well in America. Okay, so I always known that black people were capable of that. Black people are, yeah.
Did you ever see that? I don't know if it was like a show or a report, and they were talking about white kids, like who would they run to feel safer if they were lost, and almost all like it was like black men were over, like everybody was saying a black man. I would go find a black man. Like they were not going to go look for white men. They were like, if my kid was lost or something happened to my kid, I would look for a black man because I don't know. There's some sort of nerd. They feel differently about us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've always black dads have always been viewed as the coolest dads. They've all literally white friends would be like, look at how cool his dad dresses. Look at how his car has those nice colors. Like they've always been known as the cool dad, the more relaxed dad. But the dad that might even go a little too far with discipline and be like, well, I wish my dad would talk to me like that. Maybe I wouldn't be so bad. Like the narrative about black fathers needs to be controlled by black men. That's why spaces like YouTube and other spaces are very important, and why now you see, as we continue to talk, as more prominent, economically endowed, well-versed, well-educated black men show up, the terrorists just keep going away. I do a terrorist page check every once in a while to see if there is any gap in which they post. And we've even given the terrorists got to take a break since we all out here on YouTube, bro. They take a break. They don't show up on the panels when we on there no more. They only want to go where the Pookie's at. They'll show up on Jay Prince's channel. Sorry, JP.
That's right.
They don't want to show up on this channel. Man that can speak good English, they know they can't do shit with me. They can't talk shit to me. They'll go on every channel they feel like they can just talk that same bullshit they've always been talking. Shut up, Fantasy. Talk about liar. But anyway, I got to get out of here, man. Y'all be good. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Let me just say this. I really got to talk to black women for a second. We're not even talking about you, Fantasy. You're not a terrorist. I don't think you're a terrorist. I want y'all to watch out for these race hustlers. There is something that people are doing to you that I feel like now that you've seen it yourself, now that we've been in this space talking and really trying to give you the game. I know you may not like Trigger Mike. I know I can cut too deep with my words sometimes, but you got to watch out for some of these men like Umar Johnson. I think he is a genius. I think he's intelligent. A lot of his views on the black community are spot on, but the easiest person to hustle that I've ever seen in my life is a black woman. All you have to do is bring up race, bring up children, bring up single motherhood, and blame it on somebody else. And you will have yourself a bankable audience from it. They are using you. He does not believe what he's saying. Go back and look at some of his other videos. He only flip-flops when he's trying to get donations. These dudes are hustling you. Please be smarter than this. They don't believe what they're saying. Go, I'm not even going to put anybody out there, but we talk. We have panels. We have back chats. The way some of these content creators talk in the back chat versus what they say when the women are in the chat is completely different. They're hustling you. You are easy marks for them. Stop being so easy. Understand that in order to fix things, yes, you have to take accountability for your actions in it. It should not be this easy to hustle y'all. It should not be this easy to pander to you if you take a little bit of self-accountability. But that's all I want for y'all, just to be a little smarter, understand where the problem was created and what you do some introspection. I have to do that. As my entire life, I've had to look inward for the answer because it's not out there. It's not in projecting blame anywhere. The answer has always been inward. What did I do to cause such a situation? Because I was the common denominator in it. So I really want women to do that in these modern times. And maybe then we can start to find an answer together. I'm out. Trigger Mike, y'all. Let me get these super chats. All right. She says, I've been in and out of the Philippines since 70s, and it's always been like this, but family values are strong. Indeed. Thanks, Mike and the network, for letting us dialogue. Always a pleasure, Mr. Payne. Advanced perception, $2. Yeah, Callie Beth hadn't been up in a minute. Well, she tried to come up today, then she bounced. But I think it's because Fatty was on. Go support my man Fatty on his channel. I think he's on right now talking about the same exact thing. So y'all go over to Team Fatty right now. Support my bro over there. No programs tonight. It's Wednesday, but we definitely got the big show, Lapeef Let's Talk, tomorrow. So set your timers for that. She Critique on Friday. I'm out. Thank y'all so much for coming. This was one hell of a topic, and I appreciate y'all, and I will see y'all tomorrow. I'm out. Hit the like button on the way out.